here with his 5 sisters. 4 made it here, right? So how did this whole group toughen you up?
Man, beating me up every day, but also encouraging me and loving me the right way, you know what I'm saying? So I'm so appreciative of them, and I had to share this moment with all of them.
I know you're all gonna have a good time tonight. Have fun and good luck. So let's step over here. Let's step over here because we're looking for Bryce.
Alrighty, hey, what's going on, everybody? And ChazmaN's here, and tonight I'm doing something very different. I am,
and we know that.
If you don't know about something you guys might not know, I love football. Big NFL fan, big Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, and I wanted to do like a reaction video to the draft. Now I know the draft is tricky, you know, with copyright-oriented things, so I'm going to try and be as careful as I can. I'm not going to try and show a heck of a whole lot to you guys, mainly because copyright, obviously I don't want to get into any sort of trouble here. But, here. Oh yeah, there's a snippet. Bam. Snippet right there. Boom. Bam, bam. Occasionally, maybe for a second or two, I'll move over there just to see something, but possibly not for more than a few seconds. But yeah, I've got the audio going, so I figured maybe I can't imagine actual just people talking is copyright oriented, but definitely if any music or anything pops up, anything questionable, I'll switch over to this. And this is just my music. This is just some music for you guys. But yeah, so ideally, hopefully, we stick to it.
The time for the action begins. It is the 88th annual National Football League Draft, and it starts right now.
So once again, anything even remotely copyright oriented, I'm gonna cut away from.
Hi everybody, it's me, Brian Baumgartner here with my good pal, Rob Riggle.
But once again, a huge Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan. I'm very curious to see what happens, where some of these QBs go.
I know one team that won't be drafting a quarterback. Hello. No, Rob, look, the GMs and coaches.
Sorry, got distracted by the commercial.
They're looking for leadership.
Love to know who you guys are rooting for. Who do you hope gets drafted by your team and whatnot? Me as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, obviously everyone knows kind of what's happened recently with our boy Brady going away. You know, we're kind of rolling with Baker Mayfield as it seems right now. So we'll see what happens. I don't think we're gonna try and tempt the QB market, but you never know. I mean, I don't foresee that coming. I mean, major, you know, our biggest weaknesses are, of course, at secondary. We almost always have a super weak secondary. It seems like that's always something our defensive, Jason Licht and all of our defensive people never address. But yeah, so we could use secondary players like always, and I do think we need a left tackle, because I believe Donovan Smith, our long-time left tackle, has just left. But yeah, who else? What do we think is going to go first? I mean, do we think it's going to be... let me switch off of this. Do we think it's going to be... Who's it, the guy from Oklahoma? Gosh, I feel like I got to say, like, this college season is probably the least I've watched of a college season, which I know, you know, kind of sucks, but oh, I forgot to mute that. Once again, any music-oriented thing, I'm gonna cut. NFL draft time. I can't tell you how excited I am. Oh. Yeah, that's Journey, so I definitely don't want to play that. Where are they at for this draft for this year? Looks like Kansas City. Alright, stop playing Journey so I can hear audio. Or so you guys can hear audio. Alright, hold on. Before we start, let me grab my jersey. Oh, is it keying out? Brady's keying out. No, you can't see his name. Oh. Okay. I should get my hat. Alrighty, I'm all set. We are ready. Once again, once it cuts back to the draft, I'll play the audio, but just don't want to get any copyright-oriented stuff here. But yeah, once again, you know, feel free to let me know in chat what you guys are kind of looking for, what team you're rooting for. I know my brother lives in the Illinois area, and I know a lot of people up north are excited for the Bears. I believe they got, what, the 9th pick? Unfortunately, I gotta wait all the way until 19 for the Bucs to draft, but I'm sure I'll stay awake till then. Sorry, all commercials right now. Once the commercials end, I'll play the audio again. Apologies for how hasty I put the stream together. Like, oh, let's see. Deadmouse656 in chat says bear down. There you go. We already got some Bear fans in there. I think it's safe to say Justin Fields' job is safe for now. Trying to wonder, what do the Bears need? Do they probably still need receiver help? Because I know that's always been the complaint, that Justin Fields never has help. Alright, here we go. We're back. I'll switch back over.
2023 NFL Draft presented by Courtyard by Marriott. Here's the moment we've been waiting for. The commissioner.
The commissioner. You gotta boo. It's tradition. It's tradition to boo. Boo. It's not an NFL draft if you don't boo the commissioner. Boo.
Okay, welcome to Kansas City and the 2023 NFL Draft.
Let you guys see it for a sec.
For the first time since we took the draft on the road, we get to celebrate the draft in the Super Bowl.
Once again, don't want to show too much, but
of all 32 teams and the Chiefs' kingdom.
Hopefully you guys can at least hear it.
As you can see, I have some friends on stage with me that you might recognize. They are Kansas City natives and love this community.
I know the guy on the right. He's that one actor.
Give it up for Eric Stonestreet and Heidi Gardner of Big Slick, Kansas City.
To be honest, I don't know who Heidi Gardner is. Dante Hall, Will Shields. That's, what year is that? Oh, Deadmouse656 in chat says she's from Saturday Night Live. Okay. I'm definitely out of touch with current Saturday Night Live crews. Boo. Boo. Buccaneers for life, son. You know, I had to rep my Brady jersey. It was expensive, but definitely after he won us that Super Bowl, I kind of was indebted.
Hold up. Kansas City, I think we can do a little bit better than that. Chiefs Kingdom, can I hear you out there?
Deadmouse656 in chat says, boo to Mahomes and Kelsey, so corny. Yeah, I agree. I mean, they don't really bother me, but I can't root for him at all. Oh shoot, what do I do with my wife?
Hey, you ready to trade up for the #1 pick this year or what? Bees, get him, bees!
All right, Kansas City, it's time to get the show started. The 2023 NFL Draft
is now on the clock. Oh, the Panthers are now on the clock.
Carolina Panthers are on the clock.
Boo, Panthers stink. Draft Will Levis, you know you want to. Draft Will Levis. Be dumb. Pass up on the good ones.
And so the evening begins in grand style here in Kansas City in the 88th annual
Let's see,
NFL
guys,
Draft
see
is
what's
officially
happening.
underway. And the words we've been
Got the
waiting
Panther
for since
fans.
March 10th, not since the end of the season, but March 10th is when the Carolina Panthers traded up with the Chicago Bears, gave up a great deal to get into this spot. We assume to draft a quarterback of their
Oh, let me
future.
switch over. I think that's definitely going to be copyright. I know that the NFL music is very picky. They're going to pick Bryce Young. I must have scratched my glasses up. Oh, Mel Kiper. We know you like Will Levis. I should say, apologies for this stream being kind of last minute. I literally started setting this up like an hour ago, so I did it very quickly. I still put a lot of love and heart into it. Gosh, they keep playing all this football music. I already know that's going to be copyright.
Beaten possibly. Great pass down the middle of the field to Jahmyr Gibbs. Dropped, would have put him in chip shot field goal range. They could have moved on and maybe won a national title because Bryce Young was carrying this team. He did get banged up the shoulder, but overall, if he can stay healthy and he can withstand punishment, play 17-plus games, you got yourself great.
Once again, I'm going to try and be as careful with the music as I can. I already know they're gonna hit me hard. I can't imagine they don't pick Bryce Young here. Alright, music's done.
Quarterback
just look at it from the very top. Frank Reich, everybody knows his history as a player with the Buffalo Bills, as an offensive coordinator with his time in Philadelphia, coaching Nick Foles under Doug Peterson. I mean, this is a guy who has seen the quarterback position in every facet. Thomas Brown, now the offensive coordinator, comes over from Sean McVay's staff as the assistant head coach, who's now the offensive coordinator in Carolina, uniquely positioned now to go ahead and tutor a young running back in the play-action passing game. Josh McCown,
gotta text my dad.
Anyone who has met Josh McCown will tell you this young man gets it. He gets it as a player. He gets the relationship aspect of it all. Jim Caldwell, the former head coach of the Detroit Lions, Indianapolis Colts, been around guys like Peyton Manning. The kind of just football knowledge that coach brings to the table. Any of these quarterbacks would right now, I'm sure, be praying, please, Carolina, take me. Yeah. Just take me, because you're set up to succeed right out of the gate.
Yeah, and for me, Bryce Young is my number one, because what it takes to play the
Again, I can't imagine they don't pick Bryce Young.
Decision-making, accuracy, the ability to ad-lib, and none of those require you to be taller than 5'10" and 204.
Da, 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 da. Stop playing the NFL music. I know they do. I know they do it on purpose. Oh well.
Level in here, the Panthers are taking their time, just like they did in the long process to pick the perfect quarterback for them. Throughout the process, Frank Reich used marriage analogies, so I'm going to roll with that. Now, we know that the night before each of the top prospects' pro days, they took them out to a really nice dinner, and Reich shared with me that at one of those dinners, sparks flew, and there was a moment when the Panthers guys looked at each other across the table, and they knew, or at least had a good sense, that this was their guy. But they still kept dating. They did their due diligence, and it wasn't until Monday.
It sounds like Will Levis has moved
Reich's
up on some draft boards, and it sounds like C.J. Stroud has moved back. I still think they're going to take Bryce Young.
And that was it. They had their consensus QB. Now the marriage becomes official tonight. Then Frank laughed when he said, like any great marriage, now the real work begins. Let's go to Morton Adam.
All right, thanks very much, Susie. The Carolina Panthers were ultra aggressive about moving up to the #1 overall slot. They gave up 2 #1 picks, 2 second-round picks, and the key to the deal in the end was including wide receiver DJ Moore, who Chicago...
I forgot Chicago got DJ Moore in that deal.
Him, but he made the difference in the Panthers getting #1.
And that trade was 48 days ago, and the Panthers went up there with the idea that Bryce Young would be their guy, but they were going to evaluate all the quarterbacks, and they liked a lot of these quarterbacks. But when they made the evaluation, Bryce Young was the one guy they determined could compete as a day-1 starter.
I need to plug my phone in.
Well, as you can see on your screen, the pick is now in. The Panthers did take
pick is in.
First
pick is in.
Now, if you were with us in our pre-show, right before the draft began here, so just less than 10 minutes ago, we were told by Bryce Young's father that they had not yet heard from Carolina. So I suppose it is not beyond the realm of possibility we're about to get one of the big surprises that we've ever seen. But the expectation is...
It's got to be Bryce Young. Again, I can't imagine it's anybody else.
If he was 6'3" and weighed 225 pounds, what would you be saying about him, Mel?
You could say generational, but he doesn't have the howitzer for an arm. He doesn't have 4.5 speed, so he doesn't have elite talent. What he is just a heck of a quarter. He sees things that nobody else
Again,
does.
I
He has eyes in the back
can't stand Carolina, and I hope they draft Will Levis, but I think the smart pick is probably
quickly.
Probably Bryce Young or Stroud.
Done in a minute. So the bottom line with Bryce Young is, and I worry about it, I know you don't, Bo.
I don't.
I worry about him being able to withstand that punishment at only 5'10". And what's he going to play at? 185, 190?
Come on, make
You've
the
never seen that
announce
ever
the
in
pick.
NFL.
But if you see some of the bigger quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, they've all been hurt. It's not if you're going to get hurt, it's when. That's why I don't worry about the durability so much.
I'd love for them
I worry
to
about when
pick
he plays, can he be consistent?
Mitchell
Can he be the
Trubisky
guy
Jr.
he's
Yeah,
or
you're right.
something.
They do all get hurt, but I'm
I don't know.
telling
That would
you,
be
there
pretty
are some
funny.
mean quarterback hunters.
Sorry,
out there right now,
Bears
man.
people.
And I would be holding my breath every time he takes a big shot.
The Panthers have had the first pick in the draft once before. They selected a quarterback then. It was Cam Newton. They're about to do it again tonight. The second time in history the Panthers have the first pick. Here comes the commission with the announcement
Here it comes.
of the first pick of the night.
With the first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Bryce Young.
Bryce Young.
quarterback, Alabama.
Yeah, it's about what everyone expected.
And there it is. He was one of the highest ranked high school prospects in a very long time. He became one of the most decorated
About as
college
expected.
quarterbacks ever. The only Alabama quarterback ever to throw for 3,000 yards more than once. Finished second on their all-time passing list.
That stinks. That means now hopefully he's a bust because it would suck for us to have to deal with him for the next decade plus. I just have to hope he's too tiny and not good enough. Has a noodle for an arm.
The only question mark here, Mel, talent, character, leadership, all off the charts.
No question about it, Greeny. And you think about it, I thought this year really defined Bryce Young when things weren't
So
perfect
who's
around
up?
him.
Houston
he really
next.
shined. And like I said, he
I
had
think
this team set up.
they
I
already
thought
kind of
maybe
said
be a
Houston's
playoff
going
team, and maybe
defensive
go
player
beyond
like
that.
immediately,
Unfortunate,
which
hit
I know
mistake
what
in
is
the
the
Tennessee game.
Alabama
Didn't
player is
break.
like
He had
the best
injury
defensive
bottom line,
player.
Came back from that, played through it, gutted it out. Really, had Jameer Gibbs was a heck of a player. Game breaker. We're gonna see him maybe in the first round, but didn't have the elite receiver. Yet he had this team, like I say, positioned to do some great things. Had things broken a little bit better for them. Bryce Young to me, and you're gonna hold your breath like we do with Tua in Miami, right? Hold your breath. You're gonna have everything set up perfectly. This quarterback at that size, and I know Book here say, well, it happens to everybody, but it's 5'10", about 185, 190. We know 204 was inflated.
Correct.
We know that, right? He didn't even get weighed at the pro day because he's at combat. I'm standing by 204. Don't ever weigh me again, right? But the bottom line is at that weight, okay, I'm not worried about the height. At that weight, and you get hit. You see how this nasty, violent, how violent this game is. Can he be out there for 17-plus games?
Oh, there's no question that the height isn't an issue. When you break down his film, some of his throws in the middle of the field between the numbers, as far as anticipation and accuracy and being able to layer throws
My
over
connection
the second
got
level
pretty
in
bad.
between
Wow.
linebackers and safeties, it's as good as you
I don't know what's up with my
see.
internet.
I will say this, though. In talking to some of the coaches down there, look, they don't want him to live in that environment where he's trying to make those special plays all the time. They want him to win from the pocket.
Give me a moment. Subway is taking us down to the stage, and Susie, who's standing by with the #1 pick. Susie.
Bryce, your parents said that from the moment you touched the football at 3 years old, they knew you were destined for this. What's it like to be standing on the stage as the #1 pick in the NFL draft?
It's surreal. It's a dream come true. I'm blessed. I want to thank God for allowing me to be here, for my parents and everyone who supported me. Although it's my name being called, there's so many people that pushed me and allowed me to be here. And as amazing as the moment this is, I'm going to try to live in this moment. I can't wait to get to work and start building off of it.
When you met
Gonna
with
be
the
a
Panthers,
bust.
they talked about their plan for the future.
Bust written
what
all over
impressed
him.
you about them?
Yeah, how intricate they were with everything. Like you said, everything was methodical.
Oh my
everything was
gosh, the
planned
Texans
out.
already,
And,
yeah.
you know, the way that
They're taking
the
the
quarterback position, how much I
one of the
learned from my
Alabama
time being
guys.
there, even the visits that I had, it really meant a lot. So I can't be more excited, and I'm blessed to be a Panther.
#1 pick in the NFL draft. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, and so you take a look. These are the highest drafted Alabama quarterbacks in the common draft era. You might be wondering where's Joe Namath.
Richard
named
Todd.
in 1965, #2 overall in the old American Football League. That, of course, was before the common draft era. So Bryce Young now the highest drafted of any Alabama quarterback of all time. So now we have gotten through the portion of the evening that we foresaw. Let the intrigue begin. #2 is Houston. Mort and Adam, what can you tell us?
Well, Greeny, this goes back to the regular season finale when the Houston Texans won that day but lost out on the #1 overall pick. They tried to trade up for #1, didn't get there. There's been a lot of debate in this organization about whether to go defense. In the end, it certainly sounds like now they're settling towards the offensive side of the football. It's been the biggest question out there. There have been times when people thought they would go defense. Now the arrow is pointing towards the offense more.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We mentioned that Bryce Young was certainly somebody they would covet. I would point out that the quarterback coach of the Texans is Gerard Johnson, who coached.
I increased my bit rate. Let's see if. Sorry, you guys are seeing some buffering, I think.
CJ was the MVP, so he certainly has a lot of familiarity with him. But this is a decision certainly made by General Manager Nick Casario and the owner, Cal, and certainly. And right now, we'll see if we get the big surprise. Right now, Greeny.
All right, guys, thank you. And so for the last several weeks, Mel, the suspicion here has been that they would go defense, that the Texans were willing to eschew the opportunity to take the future quarterback. You hear them suggesting that they're settling in on the offensive side of the ball, so maybe we are about to see something we weren't expecting.
Yeah, we were surprised when we heard that it wouldn't be whatever quarterback was left, whether it was Stroud. Now, I was still a Levis guy, but they seemed like it was Stroud or Young they were waiting on. Once you knew Young was going one, you thought it was Stroud. I will say this, you're chasing Trevor Lawrence. And I've always said, when you're in the division, you better not be the fourth.
It's got to be Stroud or Levis here.
One or two to have any shot. In the AFC, you might want to be one because there's a ton of great quarterbacks.
I mean, are the Texans really going to go forward with that other quarterback that they've been running with?
To come out of this first round with a quarterback.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about this pick is if it's going to be a quarterback, you have to be willing to go ahead and invest the time to make sure you have a great relationship with whoever this quarterback is, have a rock-solid plan for how you're going to develop him, whether he's going to be a day-one starter, you're going to make him compete. But I'm telling you, the relationships matter, and this is going to be a critical pick for them. So I hope they are all on the exact same page about who this is going to be.
The Texans have picked quarterbacks in the first round twice in team history. Once was David Carr, #1 overall. The other was Deshaun Watson. Let's see if they're about to do it for a third time. Here's the commissioner with the selection.
This is going to be an interesting one.
With the second pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select C.J. Stroud, quarterback for Ohio State.
Wow. How many times have we heard this go back and forth, and where it finally lands is on the quarterback many believe is the second best in this class. You can see the emotion on his face. Sat behind Justin Fields for a year in Columbus. Then became a 2-year starter for the Buckeyes, a finalist for the Heisman both years. Regular season numbers off the charts, 81 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Postseason even better. The Rose Bowl 2 years ago against Utah, then the semifinal game against Georgia this past year. That's 2 games. His team scored 89 points. He threw for 921 yards and 10 touchdowns. He is from Rancho Cucamonga, California.
Rancho Cucamonga.
The second pick in the NFL draft.
I'll tell you, if one game can make a career, if one game can make you the second pick overall, it was the Georgia game. You think about that, a semifinal game where, hey, he was the underdog. He went out there and he played great football against that Georgia defense. Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't get hurt in that game. They probably beat Georgia. They may move on and win a national title. People say he didn't win the big game. Well, he could have won that when Harrison Jr. didn't get hurt. C.J. Stroud, accuracy to all levels is what really jumps out at you when you watch him on film. 6'3", 214-pounder. His time, but the accurate strikes. You talk about having great receivers, having 5 stars and 4 stars all over the place. He did.
I forgot about this music.
And catch it all.
I'll tell you what, I'll be right back. Give me 1 second.
standing by with the number 2 pick. Susie.
CJ, you've said that life can be like a roller coaster. Man, this process sure felt like that. We saw the tears and the emotion. Can you describe what you were feeling when that call came in?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, God is battle testing me. It's something that I feel like is in me. It's not on me. He's scarred me. So I've been battle tested. I have the armor of God on me. So everything I've been through is preparing me for this moment right here.
From this big stage here, what would you say to all the young boys whose life doesn't always go smoothly?
Man, believe in yourself. I was at a point where nobody believed in me, but I put my trust in God and my family and what I did. I had discipline and just consistency, man. You can do anything you put your mind to. And I'm a living testimony that you can really do anything because I come from nothing. So I'm blessed to be on this stage. And to that little boy, that little girl out there, man, you can do anything you put your mind through.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You're on your way to the Texans.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, Susie, thank you. So C.J. Stroud goes number 2 overall. That sound that you hear across the country is people ripping up their mock draft because this was not the way we expected this to go. Meanwhile, Shefty, let's come to you. I'm not sure if this is the way the Arizona Cardinals expected to go. So how does this affect them at 3?
Will Levis.
We're going to have another trade with Houston coming back up to number 3.
Whoa, okay.
To trade up to the Arizona spot. Houston's going to move in to number 3, get number 2, go number 3, and have its pick of the top defensive player in the draft. The Houston Texans are moving right back up to number 3, Grady.
The Houston Texans are taking
control. Can I just say something? Like, am I the only one that's gotten tired of Adam Schefter? Like, lately, he's so animated about some things, and it's like, he's almost annoying. Like, at least with, like, Stephen A. or somebody like that, they're kind of, like, remotely entertaining. I don't think Schefter is, like, entertaining at all. Like, the way he announced the whole Aaron Rodgers trade to the Jets the other day, like, I got breaking news, guys. You will never guess what just happened. And it's like, dude, you guys have only been talking about him to the Jets for like 3-4 months now, since the season ended.
This year, okay, we're not going to let that guy destroy our whole offense, right? They schemed to be able to neutralize them. They did a pretty good job. But Will Anderson Jr., I think, is a 10 to 12 sack a year guy, not 18. He's not going to be elite, but he'll be really, really good.
And the bottom line
so everyone there is just seeing the trade alert.
In your building, they need somebody to come in and set the tone for how we do things, how we go about winning, and they need a trend set on the defensive side of the ball. He can be their alpha on defense.
Lewis, let me ask you a question about the strategy here as the crowd is reacting because the trade was just announced here and people are, the shockwave is flying through the building. How about the idea of being so aggressive, you take the quarterback at 2 and still come up and make a trade to get to 3?
Look, this has D'Amico Ryan's fingerprints all over it. Look, he's trying to establish his program right now, and the 2 most important positions are you have to have the right quarterback, and D'Amico comes from San Francisco now, and what did he have out there? He had the right type of guys on the defensive line in particular.
Yes.
You know they're going to get coached hard. Will Anderson told us on your show that, hey, look, Nick Saban, it's no cakewalk being coached by Nick Saban. He's prepared for anything they can throw at him in terms of expectations. Because
D'Amico Ryans is pretty good. He played for the Texans, I know, for a handful of years. You know, he was like one of the better middle linebackers. Trying to think what decade he played. I think it was like very late 2000s and like early 2010s. Like around then.
He needs to be on the edge, rushing the passer, using that speed and power, Greedy.
Okay, and so again, it is the Houston Texans who had picks at 2 and at 12. Who have now made the aggressive trade up to 3. We thought that Arizona would move out of that spot. We largely thought that because we thought someone would be coming up to take a quarterback.
Yes.
That is not the way this night has gone. Bryce Young has gone 1. C.J. Stroud has gone 2. The Houston Texans have gone up to number 3, and they're about to make the pick. I'm told Roger Goodell is making his way to the stage any moment here, and we will see what it is the Texans have chosen to do. Will they take the best defender on the board? Will that be Will Anderson? Could it be Jalen Carter?
Sure, I need to plug my phone in.
Number 1 on the big board. So many questions. The talent is not one of them. We're going to find out right now. Here's Roger Goodell with the 3rd pick.
The Arizona Cardinals have traded the 3rd pick to the Houston Texans. With the 3rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Will Anderson Jr.
Okay. We got one of the best offensive players and the best defensive player, pretty much.
Where to begin with all of the accolades? He was the first true freshman ever to start at linebacker.
Okay.
For Nick Saban at Alabama.
Texans doing a bunch.
He was a 3-year starter. He was 2-time SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He won the Bednarik Award, the Lombardi Award, the Nagurski Award twice. Finished his college career with 34.5 sacks. Only the Hall of Famer Derek Thomas Mell ever had more in an Alabama uniform.
Yeah, 2 years ago, he was spectacular. He said, boy, he's going to be the #1 pick next year, guaranteed. His stats, his numbers fell off a bit. Didn't test great, ran 4.6. As I said, Von Miller was 4.42, 4.49 in that area. Will Anderson Jr., 4.6, but he's got long arms, 6'3.5", 254-pounder, gives you everything he has. A defensive line coach, how about D'Amico, right? You think about the strip sack. He had 0 forced fumbles the last 2 years, only 1 in his career. You like to see that number a lot higher, where guys getting in that backfield, getting after the quarterback and wreaking havoc. That's going to be something they have to get him and coach him to do. I think you look at the AFC in general, we talk about chasing Trevor, you got to get after the quarterback. So now they have their quarterback in C.J. Stroud. Now they get a guy who can attack those quarterbacks in the ACC and in their division with Trevor Lawrence. Will Anderson Jr., you look about the way he uses his hand, the way he uses that length, the stunts, the twist, beating a guy out of the stance. He can do that on occasion at the collegiate level. He did that more than one time. He did a ton of times at the collegiate level. In the NFL, against the best of the business, whether he can do it without being benefiting from, as I say, Nick Saban and the stunts and the twist, we will see. Winning those one-on-ones, can he do that? He's going to give you everything he has. He's got passion for the game. He uses those hands, those strong hands very well. He has those long arms, which you want, and an elite pass rusher. And this is a kid, the production, I don't know if anybody in college football over the next years is going to match what he did at Alabama the last 2 seasons.
And he's going to rush in a different type of way. We're used to guys coming off the edge with speed. This is more of a power player. Think more Khalil Mack.
That definitely seems like a D'Amico Ryan's pick there.
And you ever watch Chris Kasarik, the defensive line coach out there, coach the defensive line? I am just telling you now, it is not for the faint of heart. The kind of things they ask their defensive linemen to do, the kind of effort they ask to put.
So is he a linebacker or a defensive lineman?
And that's why it's going to take an extraordinary individual to turn this around, and they need.
The Indianapolis Colts coming up at #4, and their offseason has been all about getting a quarterback. Now, keep in mind, the quarterback coach that they hired as their head coach was Shane Steichen. And who did he work with in Philadelphia? Jalen Hurts. Who did he bring the best out of? Jalen Hurts. So he would be looking for a quarterback that could do similar things. But the Colts are expected to take a quarterback, and Shane Steichen, their new head coach, is going to loom large in this decision.
Okay, so that's something to keep a close eye on here as we wait for that. In the meantime, am I told Susie is ready? Subway brings us to the stage, and Susie Culver has Will Anderson. Susie.
Will, the emotions have been building all day. What does it mean to the Anderson family that the Texans traded up to come get you?
Man, it means they just see how special I am. I'm so appreciative of the whole coaching staff, the GM, the owner. Thank you for this opportunity. You won't regret it. I'm going to go and work my butt off every day, stay true to who I am. And, man, to my family, thank y'all. I love y'all so much for all the work and love that y'all gave me.
Texans definitely going all out so far.
There was an instant connection with this coaching staff and D'Amico Ryan's. Tell everyone
I feel like the
why.
Colts kind of got to go quarterback. This is definitely Will Levis here, I think. I can't imagine they do anything else.
And for me, that's why I want to be around good people.
D'Amico's a Bama
I mean,
guy.
who is their current quarterback?
That's what we call it, baby.
Who did they have last year? It was Matt Ryan, right, or something?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Susie, thank you. The Texans are the 3rd team in the common draft era to make 2 picks in the top 3 overall. Washington in 2000, the Colts in 1992 were the others. They take C.J. Stroud.
Still got a long ways to get to the Bucks.
At 3, quickly, Mel, as we heard Adam Schefter describe.
Are we only at
what
number
we thought the Colts
4?
might be looking for here. Shane Steichen comparing a quarterback to Jalen Hurts. One would think that might suit Anthony Richardson before one would think Will Levis.
Also did a great job as the OC with the Chargers with Justin Herbert when he had 31 touchdown passes, most ever by a rookie in the
Levis or
National Football
Richardson?
League. Jalen Hurts, 18 rushing touchdowns, most ever by an NFL quarterback. So Steichen is one with the pocket guy with the big arm.
I think that's kind of tough, but I feel like you have to go Levis, right? Because I mean, Richardson's, you know, definitely the more athletic, probably more explosive player, but I mean, they said he wasn't just a very accurate thrower. I mean, maybe you could turn him into the next Lamar Jackson, which that would be interesting. He at least is a different type of quarterback than they've had. I mean, you know, they've had very immobile older quarterbacks for the Colts the last few years, ever since Luck.
With the 4th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Anthony Richardson.
Oh, okay.
Quarterback, Florida.
They passed up on Will Levis. Okay.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
They go Richardson. A lot of upside and a lot of work to be done for a young man who grew up right there in Gainesville, Florida. Only started 13 games in his college career. The one everyone remembers was the opener.
That's very interesting because I think I might have done the same and taken him over Will Levis. I think I would have, simply because of the prototype and what you could possibly turn him into. But I think him and Levis are both definitely like more experimental. It's interesting.
Top 3 to 4 running quarterbacks. Will the accurate passing evolve? Because at collegiate level at Florida, with only 13 career starts, which in itself is a big red flag. 13 career starts only. The accuracy, the missing of layups, easy throws. I know he had some drops by the Florida receivers, but against Utah, he was amazing. Going back that first game, September 3rd, he's at 71%, 106 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. He looked like the #1 pick overall, guaranteed. Next week against Kentucky, he goes from 71% to
Show play here.
with 6
He goes way deep.
yards rushing. Kentucky
Good throw.
him. I think they overmatched him, and he looked a little confused in that game. So for Anthony Richardson, they got a lot to work with here. You can have 6'3.5", 244 pounds, 40.5 vertical, and 4.4 speed. You see the size, you see the speed, the power.
Again, I think that's a good pick. I would have taken him over Levis as well. But I feel like the Colts could have used that defensive tackle out of Georgia as well. So
in Indianapolis, they got Jonathan Taylor, all right? So they're going to be able to run the football in that quote-unquote six-back offense, but you can run the ball downhill. But how can a guy who's 6'4", 240...
That's a good point. Yeah, you got Jonathan Taylor and Richardson. We're going to have a pretty dynamic QB running back combo there. Colt fans.
The right way. Look, he reminds me so much of all my time in Philadelphia of Donovan McNabb as far as being big, strong, physical. The way he whips the football out of his hand and can still throw the football. I mean, he has elite, and I'm talking about elite mobility inside the pocket and outside the pocket. He can throw on the run. He can go ahead and break your heart. You saw the 60-yard touchdown run against Texas A&M. He has 4.4 speed. I mean, Donovan can do this. Philadelphia throw the football, and I'm telling you, with those big giant arms and big forearms that he had, the ball just flew out.
So what do the Seahawks do now? I mean, do they go?
He'll get his mechanics down.
I can't imagine they'd go Will Levis. I mean, this has to be that Georgia defensive player right here, I would think.
Subway, Susie with Anthony Richardson.
Anthony, in the lead up to the draft, you talked about visualizing what this night would be like. We saw you come to tears. As
Again, sorry about the cutting away and bouncing around. I'm just trying to avoid copyright, so apologies. Stick with me.
Shout out to Coach Nason for embracing me, but you got to work, and it just all hit me at once.
And so much about this night is thanking those who helped shape the journey. And there's an image tattooed on your right arm. Tell everybody what Jobin Lane means to you.
First I want to thank God. He the one who even helped me get to this point. Helped me get to this spot right here. My uncle, he introduced the game to me. I just feel like I had to get the tattoo to stamp him for the legacy. So I appreciate him, and I want to thank God and my family.
He'll be looking over you now as the quarterback of the Colts. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The fourth time in the common draft era, we've had 3 quarterbacks selected with the first 4 overall.
Will Seattle make it 4 in the first 5 picks?
Anthony Richardson. The surprises will continue.
I mean, Geno Smith was pretty good last year, but like, do people seriously think they're gonna stick with Geno? All right, so I think we're going to our first commercial break.
We all have something we love.
So yeah, very interesting first few picks. Who we had: Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anderson, and then Anthony Richardson. I mean, I'd like to think it's obvious the Texans have kind of hit the home run so far. You get the second best quarterback, or rated the second best quarterback in the draft, and then the best defensive player. That's pretty intense. I'm gonna go ahead and put all my chips to the table and say Bryce Young's gonna be a bust. Panthers aren't gonna do anything with him for the next 10-15 years. There, I said it. Still our division. No, it's not. I would like to think Baker Mayfield is gonna help us. I don't want to say compete. I don't think you're gonna compete with Baker, but maybe, I don't know. It depends on. I guess it all depends on how Carr plays with the Saints. Hopefully, he has a terrible year. Oh, my dad tried to call me. All right, I'm gonna go radio silent for a minute.
If the quarterback they wanted has already gone off the board in front of them. So do they go on the defensive side of the ball? Could this be a spot for Jalen Carter? His name has been linked to Seattle over the course of the last few weeks. We're about to find out. I see the commissioner making his way. Number 5, Seattle, and here's Roger Goodell.
With the 5th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Devin Witherspoon, cornerback, Illinois.
Oh, there he is. He's a consensus All-American from Pensacola, Florida. Won the award as the best defensive back in the Big Ten last year. Here's my favorite statistic. In press coverage for the season, he allowed 1 completion for -4 yards. And his former coach, Lewis Lovie Smith, said pound for pound he was the toughest guy on the team.
Greeny, there's no question about it. He has some of the best tape of any of the corners in this draft from a physicality perspective. And I'm just going to tell you, you better buckle your chin strap. You probably better put a mouthpiece in if you're an offensive player when Devin Witherspoon's on the field. Because this first play you're about to see, folks, is one of the best plays as far as recognition and physicality and finish that you will see a cornerback make. Just watch that. Look, that should be the highlight right there. I don't really need to say anything else. This is the first play of the game. So when you figure that the Seattle Seahawks in the secondary gave up too many plays after the catch in terms of run after the catch, he will get people down on the ground. If you need somebody to press, he can play press.
free food with every order.
You're a star.
Sunday, it's rock and roll night. Give it to us! Idol superstar Adam Lambert mentors. We love you! Plus, rockin' performances from your top 12.
You just crushed it.
Then Monday, Idol winner Chase Beckham performs.
Good thing I forgot to turn on my mic.
Incredible.
So mic, everything's back on.
Sunday and Monday on ABC
Looks like it.
And stream on Hulu.
We're back in Kansas City. When we went to commercial, we told you the Lions were on the clock. Adam Schefter is going to tell you why that is no longer the case. Schefter.
Greedy, the fireworks are exploding. We have another trade. The Arizona Cardinals have moved up to 6. So to recap, Arizona started the night at 3, traded to 12, and now is traded back up to 6 while getting an extra 1 next year from Houston. And they have wanted to protect Kyler Murray and make sure that he is a top priority. I will not be surprised if it's an offensive tackle.
All right, and so we see Arizona now, who's at a very active night, as Shefty tells us. So, Mel, if it is offensive tackle, in what direction should folks be expecting them to go?
You want the pure offensive tackle, it's Paris Johnson Jr. You want the versatile guy, it's Peter Skoronski. When I say versatile, it's moving inside from left tackle to guard center, which he hadn't done. He's been a left tackle. You want a guy that's been a left tackle for 1 year and a right guard for 1 full year. It's Paris Johnson Jr., who was the #1 player in the state of Ohio coming out of high school.
Paris Johnson Jr.
Number 7 overall player, best offensive lineman. If you're an offensive line coach, you couldn't draw up an offensive lineman that looks any better. 6'6.5", 313 with incredibly long arms.
And for a quarterback situation that was sacked 46 times, they have a starting quarterback coming off an ACL. It's paramount that they get an offensive line. And Greeny, they have to start somewhere. This is the worst roster in the National Football League. And if you're going to start somewhere, start at left tackle, protecting your quarterback coming off the injury.
All right, so they've made some purposeful moves tonight. Again, they began the night at 3. They traded back to 12. They moved back up and picked up extra draft
Does that mean tomorrow's
along
Friday?
the way. Will they go offensive tackle here? Will there be another surprise in this 20?
Wow, this week kind of freaking blew by.
6th pick here in Arizona. I see the commissioner making his way to the stage. Here he comes. It's Roger Goodell with Arizona.
The Detroit Lions have traded the 6th pick to the Arizona Cardinals. With the 6th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Paris Johnson Jr., Ohio State. How cool is that?
It's a great moment for this former 5-star prospect out of Cincinnati.
It seems like a good job for the Cardinals to get to move around and still get the best offensive player, offensive tackle player.
As much talent as Ohio State has had, this is their first offensive lineman in round 1 since 2018.
He is smart, he is tough, and he works hard. Now, I'll tell you what, he is not a finished product. No. When you watch him on tape, and Lewis and Boogie get into this, I watch him as a run blocker. He drops his head, has some balance issues, pass blocking.
6'6", 313.
A little better, needs to use his punch a little bit better. So the offensive line coach has a guy with awesome talent and potential. As a 6'6.5", 313. He's got incredibly long arms. He's got really good feet, and he's going to try to become and work hard to become a great player. But those technical issues and that lack of experience needs refinement. Coaching is going to be critical to get this kid to be a Pro Bowler in the NFL.
Yeah, and he's only played 13 games at left tackle. You talk to the All-Pro from Cincinnati.
From the SEC or from Ohio State, including the big man Paris Johnson, who was just selected moments ago after a trade here involving Arizona and Detroit. Subway takes us down to the stage, and Susie.
You protected Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud, and Kyler Murray lobbied the team to come up and get you. So what should Cardinals fans know about what they're getting, what you'll bring to this team?
Man, I'm just here to work, you know. Like, I don't really have the words. You know, I'm here to work. I'm here to compete, and that's what I want all the fans to be able to expect. You know, that's the mentality. I'm coming in just to work, to finish what I want to start. You know.
How is this a full circle moment for you?
It's so awesome, man. I was praying about it this morning. My dad played for the Cardinals. He was a pick about 22, 23 years ago in the 5th round, and I told my mom I wanted to be bigger and better. You know, so we get a call from the Cardinals, man. I felt chills on my body, like I'm going to finish with my dad what he couldn't start, and I want to do it with the Cardinals. I promise I'm going to give you my all. I promise you.
Amazing. Destiny.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
If I may, a very quick moment on what an impressive young man Paris Johnson is. He graduated in 3 years with a degree in journalism. He speaks Mandarin and Portuguese. And a charity that he founded won an Armed Forces Merit Award for assisting veteran student athletes and the homeless. Congratulations to Paris Johnson. Meanwhile, now it's time for a look at Mel's best available.
So who's next? The Las Vegas
Number
Raiders.
7 with the Las Vegas Raiders. My number 1 overall player, Jalen Carter, still on the board. Will Levis, my number 2 quarterback, still there.
Bijan Robinson still there.
Robinson. We want to see when's the first running back. He's number 6 overall on my big board. Running back philosophy for me, not in the first round. Teams, though, I think are in a good position. We'll have to see if Philadelphia does the unexpected at 10. Does Atlanta do anything?
I would like for Bijan Robinson to fall to the Bucs at 19, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think I could get that lucky.
Coming in. I will say this for the Raiders. That secondary needs Christian Gonzalez. And I'll tell you what, you get a guy with length. They got it. I think Jalen Carter, you think about the need there. I don't think so. I think Christian Gonzalez makes sense. Will they take the quarterback? You got Jimmy G. You go with the best corner at this point with Devin Witherspoon already off the board. He was my number 1 corner. Take a guy that was kind of 1A at the cornerback spot, which is Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, look, they're 31st in QBR allowed, 29th in passing yards allowed. They had 6 interceptions last season total. Look, when we were out there for Week 18, you know, for their matchup against Kansas City for Monday night, look, Josh McDaniels said we need people who can turn the football over. We just don't have playmakers on the defensive side of the football. We got to get Max Crosby some help. He can't just rush the passer. We need some people who can lock it down in the back end so he has more time to get there. Secondary makes all the sense in the world. Very good corners still left on the board.
You know, you're trying to improve the pass defense. Do you do it from the back end? We always talk. Yeah, the defense front to back, inside out. So Jalen Carter, Mel's number 1 player, is still on the board. They need somebody. They tried Chandler Jones. He hasn't worked. Max Crosby coming off the edge. They need a 3 technique. Is this a point where they go and say, you know what? The talent is too far to pass when it comes to Jalen Carter.
Again, it's about, you know, how does Josh feel about
So am I live or what's going on here?
Can he absorb that? Does he have the resources to go ahead and say, hey, look.
Sorry, I don't know if my stream's even on right now.
He may have some people on the defensive line that can say, hey, let me tell you something, Jalen. This is how to do it right. This is how to become a pro. Look, Max Crosby is one of the best teachers of that, of anybody. So they could definitely consider it. But I just wonder how they feel about that compared to
what's going on here with my
secondary
stream?
and in a division where they need some people who can pick off the quarterback. They're trying to take down Mahomes.
And Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech, we had talked about maybe it's 2, that foot injury.
Absolutely.
In November, that foot injury may be a reason why he's dropped, because they can certainly use him. We'll keep an eye on him. We'll keep an eye on Jalen Carter with the character concern. And my guy, Will Levis, we talk about slip sliding away, right? Paul Simon, 1977. I don't think we worry about Will Levis because slip sliding away hadn't hurt quarterbacks. They turned out to be pretty good. They do drop just a bit.
I do, you know what, Tyree Wilson, he is the wild card here. Because I'll tell you what, as far as pressure percentage this past year, he was number 2 in the country. He has some unique things. It's just, this is one of those times where I'll tell you what, Josh McDaniels has to get with his medical staff and say,
all right.
But the character concern, and this is an organization I think needs somebody that's completely clean through the process. Christian Gonzalez had 4 interceptions. He had 0 in Colorado. So he showed the ball skills this year. He can't bounce back from that subpar performance against Georgia. To have a heck of a year for the Oregon Ducks.
I mean, just think about it. You have Max Crosby, you have Chandler Jones, and you still finished 27th in sacks. So you know that right now
they didn't get a lot out of Chandler, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's why pass rusher has to be in consideration.
It sounds like they're saying pass rusher.
Here's what I will say. No matter who it is, he will get booed in this city. There's very little question the fans in Kansas City will boo the newest Las Vegas Raider. Let's find out who it's going to be.
Raiders, AFC, they don't matter to us, really.
2023 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Tyree Wilson, defensive end, Texas Tech.
All right, so there he is, a transfer from Texas A&M. He had a huge final season, 7 sacks, 15.5 tackles for loss, 43 pressures before breaking the foot in November. He was the Red Raiders' first team All-American.
Tyree Wilson. I haven't heard of him.
270, and every scouting report begins with the long arms.
Yes, the long arms. You talk about 6'6", 271, and the long arms and the length he has.
6'6", 271. That's prototype.
Texas A&M after redshirting there, getting on the field in 2019.
Great size for a
1.5 sacks, 3
defensive end.
Goes to Texas Tech, and he had some really impressive performances. Now, the Big 12 isn't loaded with really good offensive tackles. So he's beaten up on some, I call them the AOGs, right? Another occupation guys. And the NFL, that's not going to be the case. So for Tyree Wilson, that injury November 12th, non-contact, he was left defensive end on that play, and a pass rush fell to the ground in pain, broken bone.
Interesting.
The quarterback.
Well, I'll tell you what, I look forward to seeing him out at the Pass Rush Summit out in Vegas this summer. I can tell you, he will be there. Max will have him there. And I think the thing that I like the most about him is that this is a guy who, because of how long he is, I watched this guy get reached, cut off, and still be able to just take those long arms out there and just clip the running back's legs as he's going by, and I'm going, see, that's the difference with him. He's physically so gifted that it doesn't have to be perfect. When it does become perfect, when he does develop more upper body strength, Mel, to where he can actually use those long arms with a lot more explosiveness, if he's healthy, hey, he could be absolutely hell on wheels, man. He really could.
Yeah.
Mel, it was also nice of you to allow him to borrow your suit for the evening.
I don't know if Mel can pull that off. I don't think Mel can pull that off.
Lift the commissioner right off his feet like he was a small child. All right, there are big names still on the board. Will the quarterback Will Levis hear his name called shortly? And how about Jalen Carter, Mel Kiper's #1 player, still on the board? The Atlanta Falcons will choose next. It's the NFL Draft on ESPN.
Really want to see Guardians of the Galaxy. So they're showing the trailer right now. Excited to see that, definitely. So who's up right now? We got the Falcons coming up. Well, the Falcons took who? Desmond Ridder last year's draft, so you almost gotta assume he's gonna take over finally as the QB. So what did this might be the Jalen Carter pick? Gosh, I really hope not. That would mean the Falcons would get one of the best defensive players. I feel like they need defense. That's always their big problem. Well, now we don't have Brady, so. But yeah, if I were the Falcons, I hate to say it, I would probably take Carter.
In at number 8. They could certainly use
No, don't play Sweet Caroline.
pass rushers still available despite the top 2 names, Will Anderson and Tyree Wilson, already being off the board. We'll see if the Falcons will go in that direction or in another. The commissioner making his way to the stage on a loud night here in Kansas City. The defending Super Bowl champs hosting.
Oh, there's the Bears fan. The Bears are coming up.
Roger Goodell allowing the crowd to continue with the chanting back part of this, which has become so popular in many ballparks. Here we go. Here's Roger Goodell.
For the Atlanta Falcons pick, I'm joined by Chris and Shane from Big Brothers Big Sisters of Kansas City. Chris and Shane are a true testament to the power of mentorship. The NFL and its teams work closely with Big Brothers Big Sisters of America as part of our work on social justice through our initiative Inspired Change. The Falcons are big
Apologies for all the yawning.
Organization, and they're thrilled to have Chris and Shane making their pick. Okay, guys, take it away.
Pick a bust. Y'all don't need anybody good.
With the 8th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Bijan Robinson.
No!
Texans.
Ah.
Arthur Smith strikes. Wow.
Holy smoke. In a word, Bijan Robinson is spectacular.
Come on.
Last year, almost 1,600 yards, 18 touchdowns, unanimous All-American, won the Doak Walker Award, also caught 60 balls in his 3 seasons, so he brings
So
that
now the
to
Falcons, we got to
his
deal with
Arizona
one of the
now, where he
best
was the
running backs.
two-time State Player of the Year, Lewis. It is Bijan Robinson, 8 to Atlanta.
Yeah, look, he's the total package now. He has got instincts, vision, strength, jump cut ability, yards after contact, home run speed, catch the ball to the backfield. You name it, he's got it. He's got it all. And look, Arthur Smith, the head coach, he's the kind of guy who's going to say, hey, look, I need a bell cow. I need a guy who can do it all. Look at this elusiveness. Look at it. Spin with 1, 2, 3. Stiff arm. Stiff arm again. Sit down. Get off of me. I mean, he can do it all. Contact balance. He's going to need this because the offensive line in Atlanta really didn't play up to par last year. But just look at this. Guys just bounce off of this young man because he's 215 pounds at 5'11". So he is absolutely built the way you
Well, that stinks. Again, now I got to deal with the best running back in the draft going to the Falcons and the best quarterback going to the Panthers. So definitely getting some NFC South, competition is growing.
He's going to stand in there, sink his rear end, hit a rising blow, low to high, stick and stay, and then the big playability. Can you create plus 10-yard runs, which is what they measure running backs by? If you can hit plus 20, if you can hit home runs, then it's all a bonus. Bijan can do all that. I'm telling you, this is an Arthur Smith pick. He needed that bell cow. He's used to having one. Now he's got one.
He wore the number 5 because his football idol was Reggie Bush. We'll talk more about him in a moment, but first, I'm told Shefty has more breaking news. Shefty.
Well, Greeny, the Philadelphia Eagles have moved up to number 9 here. And again, we look at the board. Jalen Carter is the number 1 player on Mel's board. And if we go back to where he played at college, he played with the Eagles picks last year, Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. The Eagles have done a lot of work on him. This is later than people thought Jalen Carter would go. We'll see if he winds up being the pick, Greeny.
All right, so again, this is that 9 spot that originally had been possessed by Carolina. They traded up to get to number 1, and so it was the Bears, and now the move here to Philadelphia.
And we talked about when he had the leadership. Who was there? Jordan Davis. Who does Jordan Davis play for now, Greeny? That being Jalen Carter, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Correct.
So how ironic would it be if the Eagles go back and try to recreate the tandem that was at Georgia, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, Mel?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Atlanta. This Bijan Robinson pick, I'm not going to let that go. This is running back in the first round, guys.
Sounds like the heck of Philly.
Hey, this is a running back. Tyler Algier, BYU running back, had a really nice year running the football for Atlanta. They drafted Kyle Pitts. They drafted Drake London. Algier had a good back. This defense still has major issues. I think it's an interesting pick because, Derrick Henry, Arthur Smith, I get that. Is it a luxury pick when you got a really good back? Now, hey, if you Saquon Barkley, I get it. If he's not, then you already have a good
That is
back
something I
Algier.
forgot about. The
Christian Gonzalez, cornerback.
Algier was a really good running back for the Falcons this year. So
with Atlanta, nobody ran the football in the National Football League more than Atlanta. So yeah, Algiers had a good season, but when you can get a back like Bijan Robinson, who I think is a combination between Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey, because Steve Sarkisian said he was the best receiver on the team, I think that's too much to pass up.
You know what? And look, I think we forget just how look, Saquon was like one of one type of talent. Like Adrian Peterson, those type of guys. Look, I get you have that discussion there. I'm with you, Mel. Mel's converted me, okay? I'm one of these guys who now believes, look, there's just too much evidence that suggests that in the top of the second, late first, you can get running backs who are going to be Pro Bowlers, who are going to be MVP candidates. Look, Arthur Smith had one in Derrick Henry, who was a second rounder down in Tennessee, so he knows. But I'll tell you what, moving forward to this pick here with Philadelphia, you think about the veteran presence they have on the defensive line, it would be perfect to absorb a guy like Jalen Carter. Fletcher Cox. Remember that name too.
Guy, Subway's taking us down to the stage, and Susie, who's with Bijan. Susie.
Another childhood dream comes through. How does this all tie back to your granddad, Cleo?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, I just want to say give honor to God for blessing me to be here with everybody and giving me the gift to be out here. But my grandpa, he's so ecstatic right now. And, just doing it with him and being a part with him, it's so incredible, so amazing. But can't wait to celebrate it with him and see what he says.
You've already been doing community work in Austin. What should the Atlanta community know about what they're getting in Bijan Robinson?
Oh, I mean, they're just getting such a positive guy, that obviously loves football, but wants to help the city, just grow even more than it already is. And, for me, my heart is out there for everybody, and I'm gonna bring my faith and my positivity, my happiness, my smile to every kid, every teenager, every adult, everybody out there. So, I hope they accept me for me, and it's gonna be a great time.
Welcome to the NFL.
Thank you.
Susie, thank you. Lewis.
Yeah, look, when you're just talking about Philadelphia and them being on the clock right now, and we're having this discussion about Jalen Carter, I mean, just think of some of the other names. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick. These guys are all pros. When you talk about strong personality, they will absolutely take a young player and say, hey, look, this is how we do it. We were a couple snaps away from winning the Super Bowl. No one's going to
So the Bears trade back one pick. Eagles get 9. I mean, it's got to be for Jalen Carter.
They pick up a 4th-round pick for next season. Philadelphia wanting to be aggressive in this spot, moving up one place, maybe believing someone else was going to come up and take a player that they were interested in. Again, a lot of signals here maybe pointing towards Jalen Carter, who is Mel Kiper's #1 player on his big board. Mel, that does seem the direction that might make sense here, but we've not yet heard anything official.
Yeah, the Eagles tend to want to invest in the trenches in these first-round picks. That's why I thought it'd be interesting if Bijan was there. Would they take him? Peter Storonsky, offensive lineman out of Northwestern, is the kind of guy they need in life. Obviously, Jalen Carter in the mix as well.
Let's find out right now. Here's the commissioner.
The Chicago Bears have traded the 9th pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. With the 9th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jalen Carter, defensive tackle, Georgia.
So there it is. The football part of his story is easy. 6 sacks, 103 tackles, caught a touchdown, 3 sensational seasons at Georgia, a former 5-star recruit out of Apopka, Florida. But as we discussed earlier at great length, the complicated part of the story, pleading no contest to charges of reckless driving and racing stemming from an incident in which 2 people were killed. So this was, in its own way, the most difficult decision of this draft. Let's go to Shefty and Chris Mortensen for the insight into how it was made. Guys?
Yeah, I can tell you here, Greeny, the Philadelphia Eagles went back and forth on this pick. And Drew Rosenhaus, the agent, called Howie Roseman today to begin to try to work him and put Jalen Carter on the phone with the Eagles to try to convince them to take him. I think early in this process, the Eagles were not thinking of Jalen Carter. But when the board fell the way it did, he was the one player there that they loved, and they decided to move up one slot to try to take him.
But he was a tough discussion for a lot of teams. I know at least 3 teams picking in front of the Eagles that took him off their draft board, Greeny.
All right, Mel, he was the #1 player on your board.
Yeah, great player for 2 years in a row, and I think what impressed me this year in terms of his football ability, he had the ankle injury against Oregon, first game of the season, right? So he's out, sprained MCL against Missouri October 1st, comes back from that against Florida October 29th, finished out the season and helped his football team, this Georgia defense, this overall team, win their 2nd straight national title when, hey, Jackson Smith and Jake got a hamstring, didn't play. Jalen Carter came back and played, and he really assisted this team. He had 31 quarterback hurries. As I say, they give away hurries in Georgia, they give away champion Halloween. But again, Jalen Carter was in the backfield a lot. Credit with 32 tackles. I'll tell you what, 6'3", 315 pounds. A guy who is tough to block. The interior pressure he gets on a consistent basis wreaks havoc, and it really affects quarterbacks. Jalen Carter didn't have any issues. He's in the mix to be the 1st, 2nd, 3rd pick overall guaranteed. The character concerns obviously pushed him down the draft board to a point where the Eagles, who invest in the trenches on a regular basis and have the strong locker room leadership to make it happen with Jalen Carter.
You know, when I studied this player, to me, Ndamukong Suh jumped out on tape, but he's a twitched-up virgin. A guy that can rush the passer inside out. And how about the irony? He went to Apopka High School in Orlando, Florida. You know who else went there? Warren Sapp. You know who fell in the draft also? Warren Sapp, and he's a Hall of Famer. You see the emotion on the young man's face. It means something to him. So whatever happened off the field, let's hope the organization feel it. We talked about the structure. They can take care of this young man because he's got that type of potential. He can play with power. He can play with speed. He dominated when he wanted to. The key is the National Football League, you got to be able to do it snap in and snap out. He's about 15 pounds too heavy. He's got to get in better shape. If he shows up like the Jalen Carter when Jordan Davis was at Georgia, the guy that was the alpha, the guy that led the room, the guy that is now in Philadelphia, so they pair those 2 back together, can he be that dominant player? It'll be outstanding.
All right, Subway is taking us back down to the stage. Susie is with Jalen Carter. Susie.
Jalen, you're arguably the most talented player on the best team in the country, but this process felt unpredictable. How would you describe just the range of emotions that you've gone through over the last few months?
I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. I just want to thank God. I want to thank my mom, thank my family for being out here for me and supporting me. And, you know, it's time to work. The Eagles got the best player in the draft. I'm for the show.
The Eagles guys got on the phone with you today. What did you tell them?
And I told them they got the best player in the draft, and you know, day one when I get there, it's time to work, and we're going to win the Super Bowl.
Totally forgot there was basketball on tonight.
Already. What does that mean to you?
That means a lot. Jordan Davis and Kobe Dean, you know, I'm for the come there, talk to them guys, and we for the win.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, let's show you, Lewis, as we get
Celtics
your thoughts
up
here
by
on
a
Jalen
point.
Carter. Let's show you just how special the performance from this young man was.
Look, this guy, I'm telling you, it's like a man playing with boys. His quickness, when you talk about I mean, just look at that forearm shift right there. I mean, he's going against offensive linemen now who are 3'10", 315, and he's just throwing them around. And then look at this bull rush. That kind of that push-pull. You push him, you get him off balance and jerk him, throw him on the ground. He's got the arm over. He can get on an edge now. He can take an edge and win with it as far as on third down and getting pressure on the quarterback. But I'll tell you what, between him and Jordan Davis now in Philadelphia, when you think of that combination, I can tell you this, Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, the veterans along that defensive line, will get this young man ready to go. They will not allow him to lower the standard in Philly. And if he holds up his end of the bargain, they are monsters across the D-line. Because it's just highlight after highlight with this guy, Book. I mean, that right there, at 315 pounds, it's effortless. Effortless.
And for a team.
Bears pick is in. Oh, here it is. Got family in Chicago.
Darnell Wright, offensive tackle, Tennessee.
That's pretty expected for the Bears. They really needed an offensive lineman.
The second tackle of our night goes off the board. A unanimous first-team All-SEC player, finishing up a terrific career in which he played a lot and all over the line. Started 27 games at right tackle, 13 at left, 2 at right guard. In all, he played over 2,700 snaps in his 4 years. Lewis, great size and power, originally a 5-star recruit out of Huntington, West Virginia.
And look, I believe that this young man, when it's all said and done, has the ability to be the best player in this draft. At 6'5", 333 pounds, almost cracked 5 flat in the 40-yard dash. He is big, mean, nasty. Ask Will Anderson. I asked Will Anderson, who's the best player you played against? He instantly said, oh, that offensive tackle from Tennessee. I said, Darnell Wright, huh? Yeah, he's got feet, he's got punch, he's got lateral agility. He can absolutely knock you off the football and knock you 5. That's Brian Brzee right there. He's taking him on the other side of the center, 5 yards downfield. And as far as being a mauler, look, he's going to finish it, even in pass pro. If you let up at all and you don't get off, he's going to put you on the ground like that, and he's going to put his helmet right in your chest. And I can tell you this, as far as recovery, Book, I'm telling you, if you were rushing against this guy, you're sitting there going, well, where should I go? What do I do? I can't run down the middle. I can't get on his edge. And if I get out in space and I'm a second-level player...
That sounds like it's a very good pick for the Bears. I mean, you know, that's always been one of the things with Justin Fields is how often he gets hit and doesn't just get hit, takes big hits.
Protect Justin Fields. He was sacked 55 times last year. You got to protect the quarterback, and they got a guy that adds a mean...
Look at his feet. That's 333 pounds, folks.
Feet like typewriter, baby.
I'm telling you.
And guys, it wasn't just Will Anderson Jr. He neutralized LSU's B.J.
Absolutely.
as well. He went up against Byron Young every day in practice. Byron Young will probably be a second-round pick coming off the edge from that Tennessee Vols program.
Okay, Bears.
Starts at right tackle, 13 at left tackle, 2 at guard. This is Ryan Poles, GM, saying, I got to need it right now.
9 more picks until we're up.
Plug and play. Day one, plug and play.
Look, let's face it, Justin Fields spent most of last season running for his life. So one of the things they desperately needed was to get him some protection.
It
and
looks like the
do.
Titans have already
Number
picked.
11 in Tennessee is next. It's the NFL Draft from Kansas City.
George Foreman ain't no new champ. He is the new chump.
So, Tennessee Titans. So who do the Titans need? I mean... So Tennessee, yeah, what do they need? I mean, they always... Tennessee normally has a solid defense. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, so Titans. Is that Thunder? Gosh, we got more. Dude, we have had nonstop storming here for like all week. Titans. I mean, what do the Titans need? Did their Taylor Lewan? Did he retire? So they might need, like, offensive line. I know they've been hurting in the wide receiver corps since they lost A.J. Brown, too. I mean, there's a good chance you could trust Mike Vrabel to keep the defense going. I know he's, you know, they've almost always had solid defenses, so I feel like for Tennessee, this has to be offensive line or receiver.
Draft the highest that they've drafted since 2017. They were the only team in the NFL that didn't score 30 points in any game last year. So clearly they need help on the offensive side.
Yeah, that's what I was
saying.
saying.
The aging quarterback in Ryan Tannehill. They have the young quarterback
Malik Willis.
Last year, not quite clear whether or not he is the future there in Tennessee. There was a lot of speculation at the beginning of this night, Mel, that they may be looking to trade up for a quarterback, but we believe that was C.J. Stroud, and Houston beat them to it.
Exactly. So now you look at in the trenches again, this offensive line, the interior center guard, Peter Skoronski from Northwestern. Yeah. We like coming into this whole process. Now, can he be a left tackle? Does he have to kick inside the guard at 6'3.5" with short arms? You look at Skoronski and what he did at Northwestern.
Right there.
Solid career, outstanding career. But David Ojabo in 2021 with length gave him trouble. So I'm projecting him to guard, even though he's left tackle. Some think he can be a left tackle. Boog, what do you think?
Well, I think he's going to go to guard, much like Zach Martin with the Cowboys. He was a tackle. They brought him in, and now he's a Hall of Fame type guard. And if you look at Tennessee, they got Andre Dillard at tackle, Nicholas Petit-Free at tackle. So if they do take a guy like Peter Skoronski, I think he's a plug-and-play guard. Greeny, last year, Tennessee started...
I mean, it sounds like to me it has to be the offensive lineman.
Inside, especially the way that head coach Mike Vrabel wants to run the.
Because again, I don't know if Taylor Lewan retired or if he moved on to another team.
Well, we still haven't had a wide receiver selected, and this team was 30th.
They do, yeah. Again, yeah, they definitely need a wide receiver.
Receiving yards last year, and then released their leading receiver in Robert Woods. So they could use help in a lot of different places on that offense.
They released Robert Woods too? Oh, okay.
Making his way here. So Tennessee, we will announce their selection, and then the Lions are on the clock at number 12 here after a flurry of trades. So we'll hear from the Lions after we hear from Tennessee, and now let's hear from the commissioner.
With the 11th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Peter Skoronski.
That seems very on brand for Mike Vrabel.
Well, a moment of purple pride, if I may, for a first-round pick out of Northwestern, who is the only unanimous All-American in Northwestern football history. And football very much the family business for the Skoronskis. Peter's grandfather, Bob, is a member of the Packers Hall of Fame. He was a captain and a 5-time champion playing for Vince Lombardi. I spoke to his head coach, Pat Fitzgerald, yesterday. Peter Skoronski is a no-nonsense young man. Mel, he didn't want any part of the hoopla here. He's in a pizza joint tonight with his family.
I'll tell you what, 6'3.5", 313 pounds, very athletic. I'll tell you what, very experienced as a run blocker. The hand placement is a drive blocker, sustains well, reaches his mark pulling, gets to the second level, and pass protection. You know, lacking the ideal length. You better be a great technician with excellent footwork. He has that. Effective punch move, mirrors well. Power rushers drove him back some. As I say, length with David Ojabo gave him trouble in 2021. I projected him as the #1 guard in this draft. I thought he was going to be a top 15 pick. If you need to kick into left tackle where he played at Northwestern over a 3, 4, 5 game stretch, if your starting left tackle gets hurt, hey, you may not miss a beat there. He may end up exceeding expectations, but 6'3.5" with short arms, guys, I think would bother most people going into the NFL, whether you can be what you were at Northwestern, which was an elite left tackle.
So Skoronski goes 11 to Tennessee. The Lions, after several trades, are now sitting at number 12, and Adam Schefter has more on Detroit. Schefter.
Well, Greeny, the Lions went from 6 to number 12, and they now will be major players in this draft. They are scheduled to have 5 of the next 43 picks, and they're looking to add some playmakers on the offensive side of the football. Running back, tight end. You remember last year they traded T.J. Hawkinson to Minnesota. At some point here, there'll be a tight end and then a running back as well.
Don't they need
They're also going to be without Jamison Williams, Lewis, for the first 6 games of the season for the suspension with the gambling, which is.
Are they going to roll with Jared Goff, or
to draft him
what are the Lions doing at quarterback?
Injury and his recovery from that.
I know Will Levis is still there.
Different places on that offense.
Yeah, look, they could use some more firepower on offense. We haven't seen a wide receiver go off the board. There's a lot of guys who are really versatile guys.
Jamison Williams. Yeah, if you guys didn't hear, that receiver for them, he was like a really high draft pick from the previous year. Had a good year, and then betting on football and then got suspended. So sounds like the first 6 games they just said. Dum dum.
We're going to find out right now. Here's the commissioner with the Lions.
I think this sounds like a
2023 NFL Draft. The Detroit Lions select Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, Alabama.
Alabama running back?
Is a surprising name. This is the second running back off the board. We had not had a single running back go in the top 20 since 2018 and Saquon Barkley. Now we have 2 of them in the top 12 as the Lions.
Well, Dan Campbell, the head coach of the head coach of the Lions.
I'm just telling you, when you pair him with DeAndre Swift and David Montgomery, who they already have on the roster, what do you think Dan Campbell's going to want to do this year?
I was going to say, he's a hard-nosed head coach. You can tell he wants to run the ball a lot.
Sub 4.4 speed. He can run inside and outside, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. His comp, to me, obviously is Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey type, and you can see why. Except he's fast. He's a guy who can take it the distance. You see him here, the vision, the ability to break tackles. He's built well from the lower body on down, from the hips on down. I saw that at his pro day. And he's just one of those guys who is a 3-down type of player. And you're going to have a 3-headed monster in Detroit. So I can tell you this, DeAndre Swift can catch the ball to the backfield, run the football inside, outside the tackles. David Montgomery's as tough as they come. And this guy is a home run hitter.
Yeah, you can use him in a lot of ways. You can make him a slot receiver. You can move him wide. He can help out in the kick return game. Touchdown really waiting to happen. So against Texas this year.
All right, tell you what, guys, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get another coffee. Something to keep me up.
Drop in the game.
the Jets will select at 15, and the Packers, as you see, picking up an extra second and then a conditional
Okay.
season. But of immediate consequence, the Packers are set to announce the 13th pick in the draft here as they try and put some help perhaps on that offensive side around the young quarterback Jordan Love, who will step in a high-pressure spot, in the spot where Aaron Rodgers has played so long. Let's find out right now. Green Bay. And
Oh, here we go.
With the 13th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Lucas Van Ness, defensive end, Iowa.
Lucas Van Ness.
All right, so the Chicago area kid goes to Green Bay. He's from Barrington, Illinois, played hockey growing up. Played 2 seasons for that outstanding Hawkeyes defense, had 14 sacks. Some of his teammates call him Hercules, Mel, for reasons that are fairly obvious when you look at him.
They moved him around at Iowa. You think about Kirk Ferentz, the Iowa Hawkeyes coach there, does a great job, and he was a defensive end. He was a defensive tackle, played up and down, was a disruptor. 11 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. Now, the athletic numbers that he showed at the combine, 6'5", 272 pounds. You see him here, 4.580 ran, was great in the drills. I didn't see those athletic numbers on a consistent basis. I thought another year at Iowa would have really helped them. Maybe become Aiden Hutchinson in the first, second, third pick overall. Green Bay edge was their second need. Passed on tight end Dalton Kincaid. Passed on a wide receiver like Zay Flowers and Jackson Smith-Njigba to get a Todd McShay favorite and Lucas Van Ness. I will tell you, Todd McShay has said Lucas Van Ness's name probably about 100 times in the last 4 months.
But then it's perfect timing in that regard, because Todd McShay is going to join our broadcast here in a moment. The Jonas Brothers just joined the ABC telecast.
Yeah, they kicked me off.
There was no room for McShay over there, and so we're delighted to have Todd McShay with us over here. Of course, one of our foremost draft analysts, works with Mel all year long, and Lucas Van Ness is the pick, 13 to Green Bay.
Yeah, I love this pick. It fits because you need versatility up front. I don't think there's a player in this draft that can play base defensive end and then rush the passer the way he can from a 3 technique, moving inside on the outside of the guard and the opponent. He had 7 sacks each of the past 2 seasons, got better this year, was more disruptive. And I love the fact that you hear me when I say Lucas Van Ness. You said he's too young. He's not ready. He didn't start any games. And now here he is as a top 15 pick.
How about that? A top 15 pick, and he wasn't even a regular starter.
Exactly. No, let me very quickly interrupt here, because you might see that there is a change in our graphics. There is a change in the
Patriots just traded out.
Is Shefty ready to go? We have another trade here on a night that we've had quite a few already. Shefty, tell us about it.
Yeah, Green, the Pittsburgh Steelers have moved up to number 14 here, and they've been looking at pass rushers. They've been looking at defensive help, and we just saw one go to Green Bay. Now Pittsburgh gets its turn moving up, and we know that New England is never afraid to start bouncing around the draft. The Patriots move back, the Steelers up.
So the Steelers had been picking at number 17. They move up here to 14, where New England's spot would have been. What makes sense, gentlemen, as we consider what they may be doing?
Well, if you're looking at Pittsburgh, I'm thinking ahead. And it's time to start talking about Nolan Smith, a guy that can play the outside linebacker position opposite T.J. Watt, give them another pass rusher. I know they have Highsmith, but they need somebody else off the edge.
Let me think about Broderick Jones here.
Yes.
Because you're jumping ahead of the New York Jets.
Why.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers need Kenny Pickett to be really good, right? You got to invest in talent to help Pickett. Broderick Jones, because of the Jets sitting there at 15, that was the name associated with the Jets, Todd, all along.
And listen, remember, as part of the Aaron Rodgers deal, they flip-flopped from 13 to 15, the Jets did. And so you're looking at this, and that could be the difference in getting one of these offensive tackles for the Jets, and the Steelers know that. That's why
they need to invest heavily here early in the draft in the offensive line position. They tried to piecemeal it together over the past 2 years, and it really has stalled out their running game and put their quarterbacks on the run. It would make perfect sense. Wide receiver would make sense. Look, I mean, they can really, obviously you move into this position because you have targeted someone, but there's a number of different ways they can go with it, but offensive line makes total sense.
And Bill Belichick would like nothing more than to give it to the Jets, right?
Yeah, this is going to make a
Who
lot
also
of people...
needs offensive line.
Yeah, they do, but clearly they didn't like the one guy that was left.
It's interesting, though.
Yeah, that's the point, is that 13 to 15 swap, if indeed this is Broderick Jones going here to Pittsburgh. That pick swap, and we saw how long and hard it was for the Jets and Packers to work out the details. The fact that they did wind up swapping in the first round could wind up being the difference between the Jets getting the tackle they wanted and not. Here are the details of this trade here. They swapped 14 and 17, and they throw in a 4 in this year's draft. So the Patriots picking up a little extra capital, and as you say, maybe sticking it to the Jets, and the Steelers, who need to get that help in that spot, perhaps are able to do it. Mel, Broderick Jones might be the pick here again. That has not been made official, but the pick is in as we see the Jets are now on the clock. So, Mel, we wait here and hear what it is the Steelers have come up to do.
Yeah, some good players. Cornerback Christian Gonzalez, Oregon, still on the board. Nolan Smith, outside linebacker, Georgia, is a really good football player.
Yes.
Nolan Smith is a nice player still on the board. Zay Flowers and Jackson Smith and Jigga. Flowers from BC, Smith and Jigga, Ohio State. 2 wide receivers still there. They got a lot of options that they could go for with this pick. Some good players still on the board.
Yeah, there's a lot of things still at play, right? I mean, they need another wide receiver really to go with George Pickens. They need somebody to help him out. TJ needs some help rushing the passer. Kenny needs some help being protected. You have 3 real critical positions right there that you have good players still on the board for.
The Steelers, who hung around in the playoff chase pretty much the entire year last year, and so much of the credit for that given to their head coach Mike Tomlin. They make the aggressive move here to 14.
Oh, picks in already for Pittsburgh.
The New England Patriots have traded the 14th pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers. With the 14th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Broderick Jones, offensive tackle, Georgia.
Well, there he is. Not too many offensive tackles could have chosen basketball, but this young man could have dominated in both sports in high school. Alabama offered him when he was in 9th grade, Booger, so he's been on the radar a long time. Ultimately chose to stay at home at Georgia and helped win 2 national championships.
No doubt, Greeny. You talk about the basketball background. He moves like a basketball player. 6'5", 311 pounds. And one indicator whether an offensive tackle may or may not be successful is the 40 time. He's a sub-5'0" 40 guy. He's number 2 in the 2020 recruiting class. He's only started 19 games, so the future is ahead of him. But look at the athleticism. To get out in space, that is a big man, 6'5", over 300 pounds, out in space. But this is also what I love. When you get out in space, can you finish? Hey, DB, highlight on your back. That's finishing power from a young man. He came in 4 games the first year, 15 games the second year. The lateral agility. You can play left tackle when you can block the team's best edge rusher. You got to be able to have your feet dance like a typewriter. He can do that. Another guy trained by Willie Anderson, who the future is going to be bright for, and the quickness to block one guy, to get to the second level, to make sure you can climb in the zone blocking scheme or power. I like Broderick Jones, and now the Steelers have their left tackle that can block any
I think the number one thing that he brings is attitude. It's the way in which he plays, the physicality in which he plays. Offensive line coaches, I think, are the second most important coaches on the staff outside of head coach. They need to clean up his technique for sure, as far as his posture is concerned. But the way he plays is the way Mike Tomlin's going to want offensive linemen to play.
Okay, so the New York Jets are now up at 15 as they have acquired Aaron Rodgers, and the overwhelming belief had been that they wanted to add an offensive tackle to play in front of Rodgers. There were 3 real main tackles in this draft class, and all of those have gone. It's not clear, and I'll ask Todd McShay in a moment if there is a tackle worthy of going in this spot, or if the Jets should look in another
Gosh, man,
direction.
all the players I wanted the Bucks to draft are gone.
Some disappointment there that they won't have the
I mean, I guess we...
Aaron Rodgers comes to a team that has desperately needed him. You see, in the history of the organization, the Jets have one all-pro season from a quarterback. It has been that long. It was Joe Namath in 1968, the year that the Jets went on.
Will Levis is still there. Would Tampa be willing to take a leap?
Is there an offensive lineman that would make sense to go this high, or must they look a different direction?
Absolutely not. The Jets had about 3 offensive linemen that they were considering with the number 13 and now the number 15 pick after the trade. They're all gone. And so
Jets don't need a QB.
Right now. I mean, he wants draft picks because they don't have a 3rd-round pick. They gave up one of their
Washington might draft a quarterback.
And Joe believes in loading up on draft picks. Plus, you just lost out on the offensive tackle. So if they can move back, Joe Douglas will move back. If not, they stay home, and there are some options here. I think Kalijah Cansey, the defensive tackle from Pittsburgh, really fits what they want to do. They're re-signing Quinnen Williams. They're going to hopefully get a deal done soon. That would be a great interior of that defense, but they could go in a couple different directions, but I know Joe's working the phones right now.
Yeah, you would think moving down. I'll tell you a name, and we've talked about him, Todd. I like Will McDonald before. A pass rusher coming off the edge. You can't deny what he can do with his bend. We talked about how important bend is for a guy that is going to test it off the charts. Was solid in terms of production for his career at Iowa State. He's a master of the strip sack. I want to see where Will McDonald...
Too. I mean, just throwing it out there. What about getting another wide receiver?
Well, that was what I was going to say.
Top two receivers still on the board. Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State. Zay Flowers, Boston College. Two guys that could work in the slot right away. That would be interesting, too.
You definitely have to now be able to adjust and adapt, because you may want to move out, but you can't. Yeah. You're just going to look across your board laterally and see, like, who's sticking out. Somebody's got to be sticking out for them at a position that maybe they didn't expect that they would have to pick at this position. But now they're going to have to take him. And just stay true to your board. And it may be that wide receiver. It may be Kalijah Cansey. It could be, a guy like Nolan Smith, who they could use more speed off the edge. So, I mean, this is where the draft starts getting tricky, because now maybe the players are not there that you wanted. And now the board has to talk to you. Simple as that.
Well, they have waited quite some time. As we can see, the pick is still not in, Mel, which I think does back what Todd McShay was suggesting. Perhaps they're looking for a trade before they turn in the envelope.
Yeah, now quarterback Will Levis, we said it would be never land if you get to this point. Where's the team going to take a quarterback who has...
I'm going to say this is my favorite assignment of the year. Yeah. If the Jets draft a quarterback right now, I'm leaving. Okay, that's as simple as that.
If the Jets draft a quarterback, greedy.
Someone else my binder.
Hey, by the way, he's introducing the fact that Will Levis is his favorite quarterback in this.
Oh, he said that a lot.
He's still available. Well, he hasn't said in front of me, so I appreciate him being, owning up to it right now.
Our second highest rated quarterback to be.
Yeah, but he's your favorite.
Because you hate him so much.
Oh, all right, that said, let me get in between the two of you bickering here if I can. If the Jets are not able to make a trade in the next 2 minutes and 9 seconds, what direction should they go?
I would take Kalijah Cansey, defensive tackle from Pittsburgh, but I would understand a receiver too.
I'll take Will McDonald.
I would take Nolan Smith. I'm looking for speed. Speed. I like Will McDonald, but look, Nolan is different. He's got different speed. I've heard that physically, the pec is going to be fine. He's going to be ready to go when the season starts. That's what I'm looking at.
Honestly, I would love any of those three. Nolan Smith, Will McDonald, wide receiver, Kalijah Cansey, make it 4 options. They have good options. It's just not the option that everyone expects.
Well, you're in the AFC, guys. That's one thing about the AFC.
You got to get after quarterback. You have to. You got to have speed coming off that edge. 4-3 just sticks out.
I just see a team sitting down here when we're talking about Pitt Panthers. I love to talk about Pittsburgh now. That's Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, hail to Pitt, H2P, all that. Kalijah Cansey going to Detroit or something like that. Somebody down here.
Get out of here, freaking Jet fans.
He looked good in Jets green too. He looked good there too.
All the names you guys have mentioned have been.
Oh, the Jets made their pick.
We'll see if that is the direction that the Jets wind up going. It took them a very long time to work out the Aaron Rodgers trade, and now it's taken them a very long time to make this selection. But we are seeing this is live pictures from their draft room, and they seem to be hugging each other.
They're happy about something.
It still suggests here that they have not turned in the envelope. It certainly looks as though they've made some sort of decision that has them excited. We'll see what it is. Again, the belief had been that they wanted to come out of this night with an offensive tackle. The 3 primary names went off the board before their selection at number 15, and now it has changed here. The Washington Commanders are on the clock, so the Jets have made their pick. I've not been informed of any trade, so we assume it is the Jets who have made that selection, and we'll find out from the commissioner in just a matter of a few moments. All of you seem to suspect that they will go on the defensive side with their defensive-minded coach in Robert Saleh.
I think you have to. It's the AFC, and you have so many great quarterbacks in this conference, guys, and you got a division with Josh Allen. I mean, when you got Josh, you got Tua. You want to get after him, right? Yeah. You got Miami with Tua. You got New England with Mac Jones, and Mac Jones right now is the 4th best quarterback in this division, by the way. And an AFC loaded with great quarterbacks. And you got Nolan Smith, Will McDonald there.
I just think if your tackles are gone, get after the quarterback with one, two guys who've been productive doing that. We said Nolan Smith's probably an 8, 9 sack a year guy, Todd.
Yeah, I love Will McDonald later, you know, and he's your guy. I'll give you that. But it's either Nolan Smith or Kalaji Hansen. You're either getting pressure from the interior or the outside. Can't see it. I mean, both of them have elite traits, like speed for size, speed for their position, and the twitchiness that they bring. I don't think they can miss with Nolan Smith or Kalaji.
And let's not forget, they tried to add some speed off the edge with Carl Lawson. He had the Achilles, couldn't quite get back. So maybe they want to add a dynamic guy coming off the edge. And how do you want to play? What's your philosophy? We know how Robert Saleh, the head coach, wants to play.
They want guys with high motors that can run all day long. And the reason why, like, I was just joking, well, I wasn't really joking about Elijah Cassidy, because you know I love him. But I'm thinking Detroit down there at 18, right?
Be a great fit.
Think about him with Aiden Hutchinson. Detroit's doing work.
And James Houston also, don't forget about him. Houston also at Detroit.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
So we know, again, no quarterback going here. No quarterback going 17. So that means you could see a QB Levis go 16. Who picks 18 is who I'm wondering.
From bone cancer, and he's a Make-A-Wish kid from Ghent, New York. His wish was to announce the first-round pick for the Jets, and so he will have the honor of doing that. In fact, I see them coming up the staircase. You see the Jet fans are excited. These are heady days for fans of this franchise. And here comes the commissioner and his special guest to announce the pick.
The NFL is proud to be part of the global community that supports the life-changing wishes that Make-A-Wish grants. With World Wish Day only a couple days away, I'm joined by Kyle Stickles, a Make-A-Wish kid who battled and overcame bone cancer. Kyle's wish is to announce the first round pick of his favorite team, the New York Jets. I'd like all of you to join me in cheering on Kyle as his wish comes true. The floor is yours, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Goodell. I'd also like to thank the NFL, the New York Jets, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Northeastern New York for giving me this opportunity tonight. Yeah! With the 15th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New York J-E-T-S, Jets, select Will McDonald, linebacker, Iowa State. Let's go! Yeah!
Will McDonald, the fourth. This young man can rush the passer, set a school record, and tied for the most in the nation in 2020 with 10.5 sacks, then broke that the following year with 11.5, three-time first-team All-Big 12 out of Waukesha, Wisconsin.
I love the kid. We talked about him a lot. You were singing about him a lot as well, which you did very effectively. But 6'3 and a half, 240 pounds. He had a 36 vertical.
Will
24
McDonald.
years of age in June. Professional business.
Well, linebacker's not necessarily a need for us. I feel like I'm okay with that.
10 career forced fumbles. The strip sack is part of his repertoire. Think about the last couple of years. 2020, 13 tackles lost, 10.5 sacks. 2021, 13 tackles lost, 11.5 sacks. Dropped back a little bit this year because he was keyed on. Iowa State doesn't have anybody to protect him against double teams. So for Will McDonald, the fourth, a guy has proven to have bend, proven to be explosive, proven to be a guy who is businesslike and goes out in a professional manner to work hard to get better. As they turn 24 years of age in June. For, like I say, the AFC in that division, getting after the quarterback is front and center.
Hey, Kuiper, Will Levis is still on the board, but this is one of your guys, Will McDonald. It's fitting that I'm over here for this pick because you talked about him.
Tell you what, I'll be right back. I'm going to go grab a snacky snack.
He is the bendiest.
we're expecting to hear from before this night is through. Will Levis, who was here and waiting to be drafted this night, and he's not alone. Hendon Hooker is another quarterback whose name we may hear before the night is over. We're back in just a moment from Kansas City. It's the draft on ESPN.
Okay, so it sounds like we got a minute or two. Be interesting.
Midway point of round one, actually slightly beyond with only 31 picks this year. The Washington Commanders pick is in. Here's the commissioner.
With the 16th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Emmanuel Forbes, defensive back, Mississippi State.
Love him.
You talk about a knack for the football, Mel. This consensus All-American played 3 seasons, had 14 picks. Listen to this. He brought 6 of them back for touchdowns.
I can't believe the Commanders didn't take Will Levis.
It's an all-time FBS record for context, Mel.
Or I can't believe they just didn't take a quarterback in general.
Have that many for their career.
16 interceptions in high school, Greeny. Let him 14 in his career there. This kid is a elite ball skill corner. Phenomenal ball skills. You know that guy studies the game, jumps routes on a regular basis.
I mean, who is the Commanders quarterback right now?
tough kid, ran 4.38, 37.5 vertical, 6'1" with long arms, so he has great length, had some phenomenal games during his career. Picked off Will Levis, jumped a bubble screen, took it for a touchdown. This kid is my Splendid Splinter 3. He's going to be covering Splendid Splinter 2, which was Devontae Smith in that division. Obviously, the great Splendid Splinter was the late, great Ted Williams. So here we have Splendid Splinter 3, Emmanuel Forbes, 6'1", 166 pounds, right? He never missed a game in 3 years in the SEC due to an injury. He's been durable. He is amazing in terms of ball skills. And he's done it from high school to college in the SEC at Mississippi State. And he's a great kid who will work hard every day in practice.
It's another player that I'm not concerned about the weight because the way the game is played. He's got to play to his strengths. He's got long arms. He's got great ball skills and great vision. I talked to a player the same way, Samari Rose. They talked about his weight. Samari simply said this: if he uses
with the Steelers, and they're ready at 17. Here's the commish.
With the 17th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Christian Gonzalez, defensive back, Oregon.
We get the back-to-back members in the secondary. What a year Gonzalez had at Oregon after transferring from Colorado, playing for Dan
That stinks. That's one of the players I wanted.
Broke up 7 passes in Lewis. He started every game in 2 seasons at Colorado, so he has played a lot.
And then you know what he is? He's big. He's 6'1", 197 pounds. That can jump out the gym, 40-plus vertical, 11-1 broad jump, great ball skills. And Bill now has someone that from a size perspective, is much different than the guys he already has. Look at him here in press coverage. He's as smooth as silk, long arm, offhand jam, pin the guy to the boundary, play the football, off coverage. Easy, fluid hips. Great clue as far as reading the route, reading the quarterback. Easy 45-degree break coming back downhill, and then finishing with the interception. Run support. He will throw his body around. He is not scared. Bill will demand that of him in New England's scheme, but it's the ball skills. It's the ball skills from off. It's the ball skills from press as far as being able to man-turn it, still find the football, not commit pass interference penalties. He's got his matchup guy now, especially considering the fact that New England is going to play a bunch of guys who have a lot of height next year. Alan Lazard is 6'5", Garrett Wilson 6 foot, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, all these guys that are on their schedule next year, along with CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown. He needs a guy with some size to be able to match up. Now he's got it.
Well, no doubt matching up, but traditionally the team that wants to play the most man-to-man in the National Football League is that Bill Belichick system, the New England Patriots. So this is the guy, Mel, that they can line up and put on the nine on outside. You can put him into the boundary against the X and say, hey, take care of that part of the field. His ball skills allow him to take the football away, but this gives them a chess piece to allow them to go back to play the old Patriot way, which is a ton of man-to-man.
Yeah, Gonzalez was 9th on the big board. No wide receivers, no tight end selected yet. How about that?
An unusual start here, but Christian Gonzalez is a Patriot, and Will Levis is still waiting to hear his name called. The Lions are next up at 18, followed by Tampa Bay, Seattle. Will anyone want a quarterback? We're going to find out as we continue in a moment from Kansas City with the NFL Draft on ESPN, as that man waits to hear where his future will take him next.
YouTube is now the home of NFL Sunday Ticket.
Well, guys, I don't know who Tampa's going to go for. If a quarterback goes here, I don't know who Tampa takes at 19. Although they did say Hooker and Levis are both pretty good. I don't know what other position you draft for, unless there's... I feel like the two positions we wanted the most were offensive line and secondary, and it feels like most of the picks in the first 18 have been all offensive linemen and cornerbacks. That's so stupid. Sorry, showing the Fast and Furious trailer. Alrighty. Wow, Celtics and Hawks are tied 98-98. So it's looking like a good game there.
Sharing their draft experiences on YouTube, the new home of NFL Sunday Ticket. Sign up now to save $100 and catch YouTube's lowest full season price of the year. Terms and embargoes apply.
All right, come on, Lions.
On June 6th. All right, we continue. Mel, let's take a look at your best available players, brought to you by Courtyard by Marriott.
Yeah, quarterback Will Levis, Kentucky, my second highest rated quarterback still on the board. Like I say, he's sliding down. The first round hasn't hurt some other quarterback in the history of the draft. Nolan Smith,
Dalton
off that torn pectoral muscle, said he'd be an 8-9 sack-a-year guy off the edge. Could even be an off-ball linebacker as well. Then the two receivers, Zay Flowers, electric with the ball in his hands, and Jackson Smith-Njigba with a hamstring, didn't play much this year, had the great year in 2021. And the top pass-catching tight end, more of a basically a move tight end, Dalton Kincaid, went to the University of San Diego to Utah, had a great year after Brant Kuithe got hurt. This kid played 1 year of high school football, Dalton Kincaid, not recruited by anybody, goes to the University of San Diego, and there you go, Will Levis waiting, as we saw. One of your quarterbacks now, Aaron Rodgers, sat and waited it out till the Green Bay Packers took him, I believe, at pick number 24, Greeny. Will Levis has to be disappointed, but hey, he plays with a chip. He plays with an edge. He left Penn State to go to Kentucky, right? They say couldn't beat out Sean Clifford. How's that working out? He's still going to be a high pick. So he turned out to be a much better quarterback than Clifford.
As you see, our analytics suggested less than a 2% chance he would still be available here.
Yeah, I don't think there's a chance here at Detroit, but when Tampa comes up, Tampa only has Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. Do they get their quarterback of the future post-Tom Brady era? That may be a potential landing spot for Will Levis.
The Lions will be making their second pick of the night.
That would be very interesting for us to do.
Surprise at 12 after trading back from where they had originally been at 6. So it's already been a very busy night for Detroit. Obviously a terrific second half of last season. So many people view them as a team with a big future, a team a lot.
I was not expecting us to even think about quarterback in this draft. I was expecting that to be till next year. I mean, if that's what they want to try and do, we'll see. I see the Buck fans right there.
Again, Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back,
little Buck fan group right there.
Lions, and now they choose again, and here's the commissioner.
With the 18th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Jack Campbell, linebacker, Iowa.
Jack Campbell.
The Butkus Award winner is the nation's best linebacker, as well as the Big Ten's Defensive Player of the Year. He was named a unanimous
That's my boy. You don't even know who that is.
He led the nation in tackles He's from Cedar Falls, Iowa, where he's the all-time leading tackler at his high school, and Mel, he led the basketball team to a state championship.
Yeah, Dan Campbell gets Jack Campbell. He about Aiden Hutchinson last year, gave him 9.5 sacks, had a great rookie year. Now get an inside linebacker with length. 6'4.5" is rare for an inside linebacker. That can disrupt throwing lanes. He was a guy that intercepted passes. He wreaks some havoc. He's a good tackler. 6'4.5", 250 pounds, out of 37.5 vertical.
Oh, I could play at Iowa. Iowa always makes really good, like, offensive linemen and defensive players.
Guy who had this past year a ton of big games. Minnesota game, 10 tackles. Michigan game, 11 tackles. Illinois, 12 tackles, 6 solos. Ohio State, 9 tackles and an interception. This kid can run for a big guy. Had 1.59, 10-yard split. Like I say, you don't see Lou and 6'4.5", 250-pound inside linebackers are athletic that often to belong.
Look, I've got a chance to do the Music City Bowl this year, Iowa against Kentucky.
I guess I should call my dad.
The head coach out there at Iowa, and he said this guy's too good to be true. He's too good to be true in terms of football character, personal character, and then his play on the field. Look, he tested better than anybody thought was even imaginable. But when you watch him play, he is a big physical presence in the middle of the
pick
defense.
is in.
As a blitzer on those cross dogs in the A and B gap where he's coming downhill.
Yeah, both of those quarterbacks people say are pretty good. I don't.
He can run sideline to sideline, and for a defense that needed some beef in the middle.
Well, there's Hooker and Levis.
And when you think about Dan Campbell,
all
does
these.
this pick kind of fit? Like a guy who wants
They're
to
all
play
saying
football
those are the
this
two
way,
best
sideline to
QBs.
sideline, tough, and we always talk about fit and how you build your team and the image you want to portray. This is the guy that they want. And defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, he got a lot of flack early in the season, but the defense played better toward the end of the season.
I think this is going to be a quarterback. I can't imagine. I can't imagine they at 19 you pass up Levis, who like a lot of people projected was like a top 3, 4 quarterback.
After this word from front door.
I mean, I don't know if I like the pick, but I don't imagine that not being it. We'll see. I honestly don't know what they're going to do here. Which is weird, because there's normally a draft where, like, I know what we're going to do. But this is like... It's all the players we want. I wanted Gonzalez and the Patriots freaking...
Expect to go in round 1 tonight. Will Levis from Kentucky and Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. This feels like a spot that it could take place. Tampa Bay choosing at 19. Obviously, after the last
I feel like
several
this
years,
is
and the legendary Tom Brady
quarterback
now
all the way.
retired, and we assume for good.
Well, no doubt, Green. And talking to head coach Todd Bowles, the one thing they've been looking for over and over. They've tried.
I'd have to look up. I haven't seen any of his like, games. It'd be weird. I mean, I guess that was the case with Glennon too. Well, here they go.
Here comes Roger Goodell with the pick.
With the 19th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Kalijah Cansey.
Who?
Defensive end, Pittsburgh.
Defensive end.
Defensive tackle out of Pitt. The last unanimous All-American from Pitt was also a defensive tackle, Lewis, and that was Aaron Donald.
He absolutely was. And I'll tell
I
you,
mean,
Kalijah has a lot of the same traits as far as being able
is
to
that a
get on the
position
ball
of
with
need
quickness
though?
and be able to just wreak havoc in the pocket. The first step quickness, the legendary cross chop move. You see it right there.
I'm sorry, this
runs over the back.
that just seems like a Todd Bowles decision. Like really? Like that's not a need for our team though.
It's just so quick. He can go inside, outside. He can set you up
You need
outside,
quarterback. You could use offensive line, secondary.
What happened? And here with Aaron Donald, you're going to see him here throw a bit of a push-pull, get his hands on him.
Because we just drafted that one defensive tackle like a year ago. Like we just drafted a #1 first round. Or I think he might have been set. Was it Logan something? Logan Hall.
perfect play for Kaliza. Yeah, because this will allow him not to blitz so much. The comparison, Aaron Donald, Brady Jarrett. I'll give you another defensive tackle, Warren Sapp. And so don't think that the Buccaneer organization, where I live down in Tampa, is not thinking about the head.
I mean, he might be a good player, but it's like...
McCoy, guys, rushing the passer from the 3 technique position.
Yeah.
So Elijah Cansey is the selection in Tampa. The Seattle Seahawks, with their second pick of the night, are coming up next. As the
I mean, I don't want to be down. He could be a great player.
We're still waiting to hear the names of a couple of quarterbacks. Could Seattle wind up choosing someone to learn behind Geno Smith?
Like, are we never going to draft a cornerback? There's never... And why? Like our head coach is a defensive coach. Like, he doesn't like drafting secondary players. Like,
other side of the rest stop. Bundles as far as the eye can see.
I would love to go. Like, was defensive tackle a need going into this draft? Like, what? I mean, maybe they want him to replace Shaq, because of his injury, but Shaquille Barrett. I mean, and you just drafted Logan Hall, and then you just drafted Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. It's like, how many defensive linemen do you need? I think that's Todd Bowles, man. That sounds like they just asked him what he wants. Who's gonna throw the ball? Who's gonna? Like, we still got the same cornerbacks. Like, who we lost? I don't understand that. Like, I even was thinking, like, there's a bunch of good receivers there. Like, even taking the best receiver. I mean, Mike Evans is old. Chris Godwin's old. I even was looking at the best tight end, Kincaid. I was like, okay, maybe if you don't believe in Cade Otton, like, yeah, like how's that guy even going to see the field? Like, because we already have Akeem Hicks, and then you got Logan Hall, Shoyinka, Shaq Barrett. It's like, so what, you drafted with the #1 pick a backup? It's like, oh, I forgot Vita Vea. Yeah, I totally forgot about Vea. You drafted a backup. I forgot about Vea, because we got Vita Vea, Akeem Hicks, and then Logan Hall, who you just drafted last year. It's like, sheesh. Yeah, I agree. The need just doesn't. That just seems like a gluttonous, like. Todd Bowles, what position do you like to draft for?
Now, during the visit process,
He's a lot.
Three of those visits, the Texans, Colts, and Panthers all took quarterbacks already. The Raiders, Titans, Bucks, Patriots, and Falcons, he also visited there. And we'll still, if one of them decides to take a quarterback.
Yeah, that could be it. Maybe they literally drafted the best player they thought was there, and they just weren't thinking about, like, what would be helpful for the next year. They're just like, well, we think this guy the next decade is going to be the best. You know what I mean? That's disappointing. Which for Bowles, that's
But for some teams, I think there's hesitation there.
For Bowl, that's mighty ballsy. It's like, you think you're going to get that much time?
I think that was when some of the concern settled in.
You're probably not going to be around until this guy gets really good. You know?
On your screen, only about a 1% chance that he'd be available. There was actually a moment last week where Will Levis became.
All right, I'll let you go. That was kind of a bummer. I mean, they were comparing him to Donald, so if he is Donald, great, but that doesn't help us this year.
Had talked to Geno Smith and told him there is a chance we will draft a quarterback tonight. We thought that might be Anthony Richardson. Could it be
again, like, even if he does become Aaron Donald, it's going to take like 2 or 3 years. Like, that's not what you draft to, like.
They drafted Devin Witherspoon at corner. We said they cannot stop the run. They had a
Oh, well.
Jones. They
Yeah.
need a defensive lineman. Well, who's available? Defensive end Miles Murphy out of Clemson.
It's still like,
Ozzie Smith, defensive
you
tackle
wasted,
out of
not
Michigan.
wasted, you need a waste, but
Defensive end Georgia
that's a
Tech.
#1 pick on a backup, for a backup.
You got
Yeah.
Metcalf. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State and Zay Flowers, Boston College, sitting there. So Seattle has some good
I mean, I bet you he's
opportunities.
pretty good. I mean, I guarantee you post-show they'll be like, oh, he was a top 10, top 5 defensive player. But it's like,
150 yards against the run and not at some point addressed it. I get it with the spoon, we can cover people, but at some
and also it's like, so Bowles, if Bowles is like this great defensive genius, why do you need to keep wasting top picks for defensive players? Shouldn't he be able to find a top defensive player in like the 6th round if he knows?
So look, I get it. The middle of the defense got gutted.
Is he still our head coach?
There's
I
no
think
question. Do they still need more juice on the perimeter as well? Sure, they have some guys.
Yeah, it's like if Todd Bowles is so good, he should be able to find any player. He should be able to pick up a nobody off the street. You know?
But look, we still have a guy like Nolan Smith sitting out there that really fits what Pete would want. More speed, off the edge. Do they need more people on the inside? A bunch of all the wide receivers still sitting there.
I love you too.
One of those, but I have a hard time feeling as though that this would not be another defensive pick.
And do they go for a bigger guy? You speak of Boye Mafe, Nolan Smith, kind of the same body type. Do you go for somebody like Miles Murphy, 6'5", 270 pounds?
Well, guys, that was kind of a bummer. I was hoping for anybody else. Well, not anybody. I don't want to be down on the player. He might be really good. It's just, again, you got to look at your need. Like, what do you need to draft? And defensive line was not a need for us.
About this draft not being very deep from a wide receiver standpoint.
But there's some good ones on it. Somebody has to come off the board here.
All right, with the Seahawks on the clock here at pick number 20, the commissioner is bringing some special guests with him as the league celebrates the importance of youth football. And the Seahawks pick right now.
Got it?
The Seattle Seahawks are champions of growing the game of football at the youth and high school levels. Joining me on stage are local boys tackle football players and local girls flag players who are pioneers in flag football growth. These young men and women embody the NFL values of respect, integrity, resiliency, and responsibility to their teams. Congratulations on your accomplishments in your academic and football careers. Now to make the selection, please welcome Bethany Uribe. Go ahead.
With the 20th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Jackson Njigba, wide receiver, Ohio State.
There he is, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Forget about 2020.
That seems like a good pick for Seattle. Pair him up with,
the kid is special.
what's the other receiver?
Quick at the combine, Lewis, which is what everybody
I forgot his
wanted to
name.
see. The year before, 95 catches, over 1,600 yards.
And the thing about it is, again, he's a three-position player, not just a slot player, which is where he can really do a lot of work in the middle of the field, and he did a lot of work at Ohio State. But he's an X. He's a split end, he's a flanker, he's a Z, and he's also a slot guy. And they will move him all over the place and pair him with DK Metcalf for sure and Tyler Lockett. And Geno Smith has to be thinking, look, I have a guy here right now who can make the contested catches, who you don't see get run down from behind, who offensive coordinator Brian Hartline out there at Ohio State says, hey, look, of all the good players,
Brian Hartline, I remember him.
All the wide receivers that we put into the NFL, this guy of the recent crop is as good, if not better, than all of them. He believes in the way this kid is made up in terms of his temperament and his intelligence. The hamstring won't be a problem anymore. He's going to be a baller out there in Seattle's offense.
And you talk about he can play outside, sure, but I think he can be elite inside. His three-cone drill, 6.57. That's elite. That is Julian Edelman-type quickness on the inside. And isn't it ironic that Seattle, they didn't get a quarterback? Here's what they're going to do. They're going to say, you know what? We have Tyler Lockett. We have DK Metcalf. We signed Geno Smith to an extension. We're going to invest in our offense and put more weapons around Geno Smith. This guy will work the middle of the field, and he will dominate in between the hashes.
Yeah, he ran a 4.5 flat. People say, well, he's got deceptive speed, not that fast. 4.49, 4.5 was pretty good.
Yes.
Jackson Smith and Jigba. That Utah game 2 years ago, the Rose Bowl, they have 15 catches. And keep in mind, 2 years ago, he outproduced Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson in terms of catches and average per catch. They had more touchdowns, they had more catches, average per catch. And they made a lot of that happen. He got 3 releases. They were really smart, and they devised that scheme to get him free and clear. Jackson Smith and Jigba in Seattle, the third wide receiver that was a missing link with Metcalf and Lockett. He will fill a major void on that offense.
This guy is smooth now. The reason why I emphasize the fact that he's a 3-position player is I don't want to just box him into being a slot guy, because he can get off the line of scrimmage. He doesn't need formation variation in order to win at the line of scrimmage. And between him and Witherspoon now, I said this a year ago in August. This team is on the rise now, and they surprised people last year. These first 2 picks, these guys are going to produce for them right out of the gate. They're going to be one of the youngest, most productive teams as far as getting production out of their draft picks as anyone. Look out for Seattle. They have to be one of the favorites. To me, they're the favorite in the West.
They're still going to get gashed against the run.
But look, there's a lot of draft left, Mel.
I hear you. Let's start addressing it, Lou.
It's a team that traded away Russell Wilson, and look at all that they have done in return.
I mean, look at the youth here with Charles Cross. I mean, Kenneth Walker's a stud. They have their bookend tackles now. Tariq Woolen was...
Oh, that's right. They got Witherspoon and Jackson.
Yes, they have former wide receiver. Him and Witherspoon are going to be a problem. And now with Jackson, look, I get it, Mel. You got to eventually start getting at the guts of your roster here and take care of it. I think they'll address it.
All right, Subway is going to take us back down to the stage now. Susie is with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Suze.
Your dad had been preparing you for this moment since you were a little kid. What's it like to have your dream come true?
It's awesome. A dream come true, like you said. A lot of work has been put in. You know, it took a village, for me to be here, and I appreciate everybody, all the sacrifices, all the love that I got back home. Let's do this thing.
The name Njigba is already in the major leagues. Your brother plays for the Pirates. What does it represent to have that name on the back of an NFL jersey?
It means everything. It means everything to me. It means everything to my family. I just want to represent it the right way and go about it the right way.
And now another great Ohio State wide receiver is on his way to the NFL. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, really, Susie, I mean, OSU, they could change it to WRU. They had Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave both go in the top 11 last year. They both had brilliant seasons. Then you take a look, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and the best of them all might be the one who's still there in Marvin Harrison Jr., who had 77 catches for over 1,200 yards a year ago. Meanwhile, time now for a draft moment delivered by Pizza Hut. It was Bryce Young going number 1 overall tonight as expected to Carolina. And then at number 2, perhaps not so expected, C.J. Stroud going to the Houston Texans. And then the run on quarterbacks continued with an emotional Anthony Richardson, who was drafted number 4 by the Indianapolis Colts. So 3 quarterbacks in the first 4 picks, with Will Anderson sandwiched in between there at number 3 also to Houston. It was a tumultuous start to our draft tonight, and that's our draft moment delivered by Pizza Hut, and that leaves Will Levis still in the green room, still waiting to hear his name called as we...
So who needs quarterbacks? I mean, you're starting to get to the end of the draft. All these teams are like playoff contenders who have like legit QBs.
would not have been called already by now. We're at the spot in the draft where the Miami Dolphins would originally have selected, but that choice was forfeited, and so it is the Los Angeles Chargers who've made the pick, and we are waiting for the announcement on the direction that they are going to go as we take a look inside their draft room. And then the Ravens, who've had a busy day today with the re-signing of Lamar Jackson to the long-term contract, long awaited there in Baltimore. They get that done. So we'll hear from them after we hear from the Chargers here, of course, made the playoffs last season with their star young quarterback in Justin Herbert, had the enormous lead in Jacksonville, lost in unimaginable fashion. Let's see what they decide to do here in round one. Here's the commissioner.
With the 21st pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Quentin Johnston, wide receiver, TCU.
All right, so here come the wideouts, and you watch.
And again, back to our pick.
No one could cover him on that ride.
I don't necessarily think we had to draft a quarterback. I'm just like, there were other positions I felt like that were definitely bigger points of emphasis, bigger needs. And it feels like we just drafted like just another, not another guy, just I don't know. I'm gonna think about it all night. Tampa.
He doesn't always play to it because he body catches. He doesn't snatch the ball, Lou, and so basically he became too comfortable catching the football, body catching. So he's got to extend. You got big windows. You can bobble it a little bit. You can body catch in college. The NFL, they'll jar it loose. Lewis.
Yeah, well, the cool thing about him, though, was as big as he is, you would think, okay, this guy's an outside lane player. They got him the ball in all kinds of ways. They moved him all over the place, and they ran him on everything. They ran him on the double move steep. They ran him on the intermediate digs and curls. They ran him on the bubble screens. They ran him on the shallow crossers. Any way they could possibly get him the football, they got him the football. And I'll tell you, he is a tough...
That's probably going to be a good pick for, or draft for the Chargers. Oh, Celtics took the lead. Wow, Celtics are pulling away from the Hawks. Getting so tired. How long have I been going? Almost 3 hours? Sheesh.
For the Ravens and a good one. Major headlines for the Baltimore Ravens earlier today. Greeny reaching agreement with Lamar Jackson on a 5-year, $260 million contract that includes $185 million guaranteed. It's not the fully guaranteed contract that Lamar Jackson wanted, but it also does make him, on an average per-year basis, the highest paid player in NFL history with an average of $52 million a year. The Ravens already gave Lamar one gift today, and now there's a decent chance they'll give him another gift right here, Greeny. No, that's what you believe they need to do, is get another wide receiver to help him out.
Yeah, I think Zay Flowers, he's so dynamic, he's so sudden, you can use him on jet sweeps, you can get him on reverses. The kid is electric with the ball in his hands in the open field, so he's a touchdown waiting to happen. That kind of speed, that kind of big playability is rare. I have right now, going into this draft, as the 13th best player, my #1 overall receiver in this draft is Zay Flowers.
And let's not forget, Baltimore changes offensive coordinator. Todd Monken comes in. They want to open the offense up, Greeny. It's no longer going to be ground and pound. They want to open the field up. You got Nelson Aguilar, who you signed. You got OBJ. If they add another receiver, so now you can see a dynamic 3-wide receiver set.
And
Can Rashad Bateman stay healthy? Exactly. Can he stay healthy? Devin Duvernay. They start to add a lot of weapons for the Baltimore Ravens.
When I watch Zay Flowers, I'm telling you, in the way Boston College used him, it reminds me of how Andy Reid used Tyreek Hill in Kansas City. Constantly put him in the slot in 3-by-1 sets where he's the third guy in, closest to the offensive tackle, and getting him up vertically on safeties, running double moves, running those deep over routes. I mean, the guy is just, he's impossible to cover for safeties. He's tough to cover for corners. They need that dynamic plus 20-yard type of guy who can produce those chunk plays. He's got it. He's got it,
and
man.
a high character kid. He has 13 siblings. And he got to come back and work. You think about, great kid he is. I tell you what, for the play like a Raven, Zay Flowers.
Matt Will in chat says, "Sup, cuz? What's going on, man? Thank you so much for joining. It's good to see you. Not doing anything crazy, just kind of watching the draft. Kind of voicing my displeasure to the pick we made. I wasn't super displeased. Like, it turns out he's a really good player, but I didn't think we really needed that position. But what are you going to do?
Zay Flowers, wide receiver, Boston College.
It's a good day for Baltimore. You re-sign Lamar, and then you get him a new receiver.
Coming out of high school in Fort Lauderdale, Zay Flowers was the 83rd ranked receiver in the country. Now, Mel, he's a first-round pick.
He is. His mom passed away when he was a young age. He had a lot of responsibility. His dad's working. He's got 13 siblings. Yeah. He's out there. He understands what it is to deal with adversity and have to do things to take care of his sisters and brothers. And Zay Flowers, what a great young man. 5'9 1/4, 182, 4.4 speed, electric.
He seems like a tiny. What? How tall is he? 5'9"?
Think about Jeff Hafley. Even going into this year, a lot of guys going into the transfer portal, right?
Yeah, it's like Tyreek Hill size.
Zay Flowers stays at Boston College. He produces big plays. I'll tell you what, for a guy 5'9 1/4, 182 buck, he will make get those contested balls in traffic. Tough kid, loves to play the game. He's an
Matt Will in chat says he has to play for Vea since he is out half the season. Vita Vea is already out for part of the season. season?
about it throughout the whole process.
I did not even know that.
In the phone booth, Greeny, really simple. And if you look at the Ravens wide receiver, they were last in yardage in the National Football League. So they had to get somebody, not only they can win at the catch point, but when they get the ball in their hands, they can make plays in space, and Zay Flowers definitely fits that.
He makes big plays, Lewis. Last year, he set the school record for touchdowns and tied the school record for catches.
Yeah, look, he's just one of these guys who, I'm telling you, is a matchup nightmare because of how good he is getting off the
I know
line
he
of
was hurt
scrimmage,
during the
how
season,
he
but I
can play
thought
outside and inside,
towards the end
and
he
just
was
how good
playing.
he is at the top of his routes as far as creating separation, getting DBs to turn, and then he has the jets and he just turns it on. Look, if they put him at number 2 or number 3, you should see right here, as a defensive back, as a
Yeah, it
safety,
says something about a
look,
calf
you just gotta
injury.
back up. Just
Like I
back
said,
up
I
and
knew
play
it.
top
He
down.
kind of had it all
If you really
throughout
try
the
to
year,
play it
but
true and try and read his routes,
I
read his releases,
thought he was like
you don't
kind of
have a
almost
shot.
over
This is
it.
something that Kansas City used to do with Tyreek
It
all
looks
the
like the
time.
Celtics are
As
going to
soon
put
as you
away the
turn and
Hawks
open your
tonight.
hips, you best believe he's got you right where he wants you. And then after that, you're not going to catch him, just like you're not going to catch Tyreek. And I'm not saying Zay is as fast as Tyreek, but it's the same kind of utilization. And here again, you see him there. You see him with the corner post. Fake it to the corner, come back on the post, and then after the catch, he's one of those guys with the ball in his hands. He converts into
So
a
who's
running
up?
back
We got
immediately.
Vikings?
Tyreek was just like that. Whether he was catching the ball deep down the field or here on an intermediate crosser.
I feel like the Vikings could actually use like a receiver here, or didn't they lose their linebacker?
Turns on the Jets, that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to probably get a 15-yard penalty and a fine for throwing up the deuces, but he's going to absolutely rub it in your face.
Can I tell you who likes it? Lamar Jackson likes it. 1 minute ago, he tweeted, "I'm smelling more good news dropping soon." And then 10 seconds ago, he tweeted, "Well, it happened." So, obviously, Mel, the quarterback of Baltimore is happy with the new receiver in
Happy with
Baltimore.
Odell Beckham Jr., one of his good friends. Now, like you say, those flowers smell awful good when they're getting touchdowns, don't they? I'll tell you what.
Look at you, Mel. Look at you with the play on word.
Oh.
The kite. He can do it all.
All right, Susie is with Zay Flowers. Subway takes us down to the stage. Susie.
Zay, you made history. The first BC wide receiver to go in the
Matt
first
Will in
round.
chat
What
says
are
the
you
Vikings
most
are
proud of
drafting
in the
Levis.
I'm proud of the patience.
Even with them having
I just
Kirk Cousins? I don't.
fought through everything, no matter what it was, adversity, and I had my family, I had my friends, I had
Or
everybody
maybe
by
they
my
draft
side.
him to be competition
And
for
Coach Hafley
Cousins?
stuck by me and gave me his word.
Possible.
And
I don't
he
see
helped
it.
me through this opportunity, with this opportunity.
One of 14 kids, and your dad held it down on his own. But in this moment, how do you want to honor your mom? What she's meant to the journey?
She the reason I'm still doing this. She put me in this. It started with my mom, and my dad continued it, and it mean everything. That's why I made sure that she was on with me. Made sure she was with me tonight.
Know somebody who's really happy tonight. Lamar Jackson has already tweeted out how happy he is.
Tell
What
him
do you
let's
want
do
to
it.
say?
Tell him let's do it. Hey, we about to work. Let's get to it. Let's get to it.
There you go. Congrats.
Yeah, beautiful moment there, talking about his mom, and then, of course, Lamar Jackson tweeting the happy news, and we gave you the number beforehand.
Cousins too much money. Bucks will trade for Cousins.
Back late in his rookie year.
Cousins is starting to get a little long in the tooth. I don't even know if the Bucks would want him.
Receiving yards per game amongst wide receivers. Do you
I mean, I
foresee
wanted
that changing?
Carr in the offseason,
Some of
but
that was because of the philosophy with Greg Roman. They want to run the football.
I was even
They
saying
lead
I
the
would
league
have
in
traded
rushing.
for Lamar
More
Jackson.
anybody
People were
that
like,
mass. Now you bring
nah,
in
you
offensive
can't give
coordinator
the
Todd Monken. It's
the
gonna
Ravens
change.
2
They wanna
first-round
open the
picks
offense.
for
They tried to
Lamar.
run
I
it down
mean,
people's throats.
I would have
That didn't
done
win
it.
them championships.
I think
Now,
Lamar's
they're gonna
pretty
play the
good.
ball that the Chargers are playing,
I don't know.
that the Bills are playing, that the Chiefs are playing. We're gonna
Instead,
try to
we went
score
with Baker
through the passing
Mayfield.
game, and this fits that profile.
That's why it was so important.
We'll have
get
to
that
see
deal
how
done.
that
You see how
goes.
positive Zay Flowers
Yes.
is because
Yes.
he knows Lamar's under contract and he's excited.
Yes.
If you would have had this lingering on, it's negativity continues, it's swirling. Like I say, now
So
all of a
what's
sudden
my-
Lamar's back
why
possibly
does
to
that
be,
keep
which he
disappearing?
was the toast of the town.
All right, let's turn the page here. The next team up is the Minnesota Vikings, who obviously had the gaudy regular season record last year. They were 11-0.
I feel like there was somebody else who I kind of wanted in the offseason,
Knocked out
but
in their very first playoff game at home by the Giants, 31-24. In an
I don't
NFC
know.
that has been somewhat
I just remember Carr and Jackson were the only two that I kind of wanted.
taking a quarterback. I feel like I've heard that mentioned a couple of times through the process, but Mel is shaking his head.
Matt Will says, I still think Trask needs an honest chance if they used a second on him. Yeah. I just know every time I've seen him in preseason or the offseason, he never looks that impressive to me. I don't necessarily think he has that much arm talent. I mean, maybe he learned some stuff from Brady, but that's what I want. I want to get somebody with a lot of arm talent. It's like we don't.
Yeah, to me, this pick is.
I mean, obviously we had Freeman, or we had Jameis Winston, who had a ton of arm talent, but he just couldn't. It's pretty obvious he couldn't put everything together.
Flores needs cover guys. He's going to want to play man, and right now he doesn't have the people to do it. This has to be a corner.
Deonte Banks is in that athletic super freak category now as far as his explosive qualities, explosive movement qualities. And you're right, with Brian Flores, look, I'm going to run a lot of zero blitz.
Yes.
I need a guy who can get up on the line of scrimmage and will not flinch. You get beat on a 9-ball, and the next play you're getting up there, and you know what you're doing? You're pressing him again. And then you come back and you make the play. That's Deonte Banks. I've seen him do it. I've seen him get beat, come right back, get right back up in a wide receiver's face.
Matt Will in chat says he has the QB touchdown passing record at Florida. Yeah, that he does. I'm not saying he doesn't have arm talent. I'm just saying every time I've seen him, it doesn't like pop out at me. I mean, it would be interesting to give him a full year. I mean, if Baker Mayfield doesn't pan out, then yeah, midway through the season, I say you throw Trask in there.
Will's right there, heck of a quarterback, I believe. Nolan Smith, an outside backer who you can move around. He could be off ball as well. Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer as well, tight end Notre Dame, still on the board. We have not yet had a tight end drafted. Deonte Banks, Lewis and Boog have talked about. And there's Jordan Addison, who went from Pitt, where he had 100 catches with Kenny Pickett, to USC with Caleb Williams, who may be the #1 pick overall next year out of USC. Their
I can't believe Levis, Smith, and Kincaid are all still there.
Runners in this draft. Just think about him in this offense.
Use him.
Think about him right up here with with Justin Jefferson. That would be a sweet pick too. Well, look, defense
Who's
makes
that
sense
Vikings
because
pick?
the value kind of matches up for me, right, with the need. I mean, wide receiver is always good because Jefferson needs help, especially, now that Adam Thielen has moved
Again,
on.
it's looking like Levis may fall back to the second round.
Take one wide receiver out of the game. This will be an interesting pick. I don't see how they go away from defense, but I wouldn't be shocked considering some of the quality wide receivers that are still in the
And I'm
board,
looking at the needs. Jacksonville's got a corner need.
Yeah.
Giants had a corner
Vikings.
need. So you got teams right now that are looking, I'm sure, at Porter Jr. and Deonte Banks.
Did it again.
And so this will be the
Stop
Vikings
doing
making their
that.
pick here. Again, we are expecting them perhaps to go on that defensive side of the ball. You never know. You mentioned the departure of Adam Thielen, so perhaps help needed at wide receiver. The Vikings, who had a big regular season and then that very disappointing postseason performance. I do see the commissioner starting to make his way towards the podium here where he'll make the announcement. A big acquisition in Minnesota this year, the new defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, the one-time head coach in Miami. So we'll see if they go that way. Here's the commissioner.
With the 23rd pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Jordan Addison,
Wide receiver. I kind of figured they would go receiver.
You called it. We talked a little bit about
I mean, to me, it just didn't make sense going after Levis.
Had the monster year there.
I thought it made more sense to, because I know they lost Adam Thielen.
Let's take a look at the prospect resume brought to you by Indeed.
I think that makes sense for them.
I'm not concerned about the size. A lot of people have made something about it. Him only weighing 170 pounds, 5'11", though. For me, I look at him. He was my #1 receiver in this draft. A guy that can play inside, a guy that can play outside. You talked about 2021. He won the Biletnikoff. He said, you know what? I'm going to leave Pittsburgh. I'm going to go play with a different quarterback. I'm going to go out west. I'm going to play with Caleb Williams. Guess what? He still went out there and he put up numbers. He can do it all from any spot on the field. Speed to burn, to meet the versatility.
Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I want this to be over.
How he can get it done. You can put him in the slot. And imagine a nickelback. Usually a slower corner trying to check him. I put my foot in the ground. I'm
not staying up past 11:30. Better be done by then.
You talk about the ability to get deep. throw him a little bubble screen, and now, not only can I catch the football, I can make guys miss and show a little toughness, playing up there and pit, the ability to break tackles. But what I love is you can put him, you can isolate him.
Good job, Matt Will in chat. You had me thinking they were going to draft a quarterback.
The ability to play inside, outside. That's the reason why he was my #1 receiver. Oh, by the way,
I didn't think that was a possibility. I don't see why you wouldn't have wanted to hold on to Cousins and draft him another receiver. That's to be honest, is the exact pick I probably would have made.
And he can win the one-on-one when you know you're throwing it to him. And Jordan showed that this year at USC. Last year at Pitt, much more inside work where he tore people apart.
Once again, that was tonight's Prospect Resume brought to you by Indeed. I'm being told we have another trade. The Giants will be on the clock when we continue in just a moment. Here trading up with Jacksonville. Giants move up one spot. Who are they looking to draft tonight? We'll find out next as we continue from Kansas City.
What do the Giants need? Maybe this is where the Kincaid goes? You draft up to get the best tight end? Celtics knocked out the Hawks. I don't know why I wanted to call them the Falcons for a second. You could tell my brain's mixing up the sports. Guess I can get rid of the apparel now. Matt Will in chat says, I think Levis doesn't go earlier than number 44 to the Falcons. Why would he go to the Falcons, though? They just drafted Desmond Ridder, like, last year. Unless you think they're going to give up on him already. I mean, that would be back-to-back second-round quarterback selections for the Falcons if that's the case. Because, yeah, they picked Ridder, I think, in the second round. And then this year, another quarterback? I don't I don't even think they've given Ritter a chance, so I don't think that'll happen.
Could take a corner, but then there's tight end Dalton Kincaid, tight end Michael Mayer. Dallas is sitting there maybe thinking tight end. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
I think this pick for the Giants is probably Kincaid.
I'm a Maryland guy with Deontay Banks. Love the kid. He came back from that shoulder injury and had a heck of a season for the Maryland Terrapins.
Yeah, they drafted Matt Will in chat says he didn't know they drafted a quarterback last year. Yeah, they drafted Desmond Ritter. I don't even know what school he went to in the second round. He was supposed to be their future, and I believe they just started Mariota over him most of the year because, you know, Mariota was the veteran. So I think this year with the Falcons, they were, to me it makes sense that they would try and give this entire year to Ritter. I don't see how drafting another quarterback would help him out unless they just think he's a bust already.
And you know how Wink Martindale is. Exactly. He likes those kind of guys, those kind of.
I don't even know what school. I can look it up. Desmond Ritter. I don't even remember what college he went to.
Maybe pound for pound, one of the most explosive players in this draft.
So you saw the celebration in the Giants draft room there as they have made their pick, and here comes the commissioner to announce.
He went to Cincinnati.
After Jacksonville, after Roger Goodell.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have traded the 24th pick to the New York Giants. With the 24th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Deontay Banks, defensive back, Maryland.
I mean, that makes sense too.
And Mel loves him because he was born and raised in Baltimore and stayed home to go to college. Started 8 games as a freshman, never looked back. He's got the combination of size and speed, Mel, that every team is looking for.
Yeah, 6 foot, almost 200 pounds. Greeny ran 4.4, 4.35 to 4.4. 42-inch vertical jump. Talking about how athletic he is. Lewis was talking about that.
Matt Wells says Commanders at 47. Yeah, that's probably a possibility. I'm honestly shocked the Commanders didn't draft a quarterback earlier. I mean, who, you know, I don't even know who their quarterback would be this upcoming season. Matt Wells says smart by Jags. Yeah.
All year. Talk about notable games. Purdue, Indiana,
I
outstanding.
mean,
Ohio State.
unless they really liked the guy the Giants picked, of which, you know, why would you trade it? But who do the Jaguars need?
But that was kind of the bugaboo. That was something I think that bothered him just a bit in coverage. He can fix that, improve on that. With his size, speed, and his toughness, he will light you up. Yep. He's got a chance to be really good.
Let me very quickly mention that we've had another trade here. You can see it on your screen as the graphics will change here for you as they see.
Oh, the Jaguars traded their pick again.
The Buffalo Bills have moved up. So Jacksonville has traded twice in the last 10 minutes. They moved back 1 spot to allow the Giants to come up. Now the Bills have come up. We'll find out which player it is they've decided they needed to get as we continue in just a moment with the NFL Draft from Kansas City.
Gillette presents the Gillette Labs with exposure.
Matt Will says Commanders have Jacoby Brissett, Jake Fromm, and Sam Howell. I don't think you want to go into a season having those 3 as your quarterbacks. I mean, Brissett is a respectable backup in the league. Sam Howell, I think he played a couple games for the Commanders, did not impress. Jake Fromm has been a career, wouldn't you say, 3rd stringer in the NFL so far since he's come over from Georgia. He was really good at Georgia, but he's not, he's in the NFL now. Yeah, that sounds like the Commanders have 2 third-string quarterbacks and 1 second-string. I mean, no disrespect to Jacoby. He's a fine journeyman quarterback, but I would definitely think they need a quarterback from somewhere. Again, I'm shocked with that 17th or 18th pick. They didn't draft a quarterback, but maybe they waited because they know they'll have their chance at 47, you said. Come on, NFL, let's speed this draft up. I don't know why you wait until night to have this draft going on.
Round, there were 3 sure quarterback spots and 4 quarterbacks here, so it's like a game of musical chairs. But the family's doing okay. Mel had mentioned that Levis plays with a chip on his shoulder. They said this plays right into that. And his mom, Beth, who was a big-time soccer player at Yale, she said, the NFL likes drama. You're welcome, NFL. Sounds like she has a chip on her shoulder, too.
Again, we had Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson go in the first 4 picks tonight, and no quarterback since. Again, there was a moment last week, in which Will Levis was the odds-on favorite to be the 2nd pick in this draft, Mel, and instead, here he is still waiting to hear his name called as we approach the end of round 1.
Well, Susie touched on it. Yeah, some quarterback was going to possibly fall. So is it the end of the world? Heck no. I mean, how many quarterbacks we have to mention that went from the 2nd round one who became heck of a player in the NFL? I talked to Boomer Esiason here. He was taking my first year in 1984. We had that little box on the table, Boomer and I. And I'm mentioning Dan Fouts and Johnny Unitas to Boomer. Say, don't get down, just get motivated. And look at that with Boomer. Brett Favre's another one. We saw slide. Aaron Rodgers, 3 weeks before the draft, was projected to go number 1, ended up 124.
As you look at the teams that have yet to select tonight here in round 1, it seems almost impossible that any of them would take a quarterback. Now, certainly, we have frequently seen teams trade into the end of round 1 to take a quarterback, and it is certainly possible we will see that. But when you consider Dallas and Jacksonville, Cincinnati, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Kansas City, hard to picture. Here's the commissioner and the Bills.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have traded the 25th pick to the Buffalo Bills. With the 25th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Dalton Kincaid, tight end.
They drafted him up before the Cowboys.
And so the first tight end goes off the board tonight. Was a star.
So I know the Cowboys had him targeted.
High school, played only 1 year
Well,
of
I didn't know, but I think most people assumed.
At the University of San Diego, caught 19 touchdowns there in 2 seasons, and then found his way to Utah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we talked about the 1 game for C.J. Stroud, and we talked about 1 game for Dalton Kincaid. Got everybody's attention. USC game. Mid-season, he has 16 targets, 16 catches. He's 16 for 16 against USC. That's pretty doggone good. And he got, I'll tell you, a teammate misfortune. Brant Keithley's a heck of a player who's going back to Utah. Brant Keithley got hurt. Dalton Kincaid stepped up in Keithley's absence and had a heck of a year. This was the year of the shine for Dalton Kincaid.
Matt Will in chat says, love that pick by the Bills. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I should know. I had that other tight end from them in fantasy last year, and that dude didn't do anything the entire year. I think towards the end he had a couple decent games, but That dude's not very good. I don't even remember his name.
With Brant Keithy's injury.
Yeah, just a ton of production over the last 2 years, 106 catches, 1,400 yards, 16 touchdowns. And if you're Buffalo, we thought about Buffalo maybe adding another wide receiver. What did they add? Another weapon to go with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. You talk about him being a glorified receiver, so they're going to give Josh Allen another weapon in the passing game. I like what Buffalo did here, making a strength their offense and giving him another weapon, taking some pressure off the number 2 receiver in Gabe Davis.
Yeah, I mean, 55% of his snaps, he was aligned in the slot this year. So what is he going to do? He's going to work between the numbers. He's going to work between the numbers, run the seams, run the wide basics, which are the 10 yards and cut across the field.
Matt Will in chat says Dallas has to go running back.
As a blocker. You can use him as
Yeah,
you can use him as
especially with them losing Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, I guess. Or they didn't lose him, but they just didn't re-sign him. Because that means they only have, what, Pollard, Tony Pollard?
The Dallas Cowboys are now on the clock, and Chris Mortensen has insight for us. Mort.
Well, with the pick of Dalton Kincaid to the Bills, and the Bills jumping in front of the Cowboys, this is about where we expect these tight ends to go. Now, for the Cowboys, I don't know who they're going to pick, but I do know tight end is a need. And the one guy who most resembles, Jason Witten, one of the all-time greats for the Cowboys, tight end, is Michael Mayer of Notre Dame. As Malcolm will tell you, he's a full-service tight end. Not saying he's going to be the pick here, but Mike McCarthy, the coach of the Cowboys,
They're saying that
tight end, block, but still make
Michael Mayer, another tight end, may go here.
We're going to see these tight ends come off the board between the rest of the night tonight and in the second round. I think the top of the second round too as well, Greeny.
Yeah, we just saw the first go, and Mel, I feel like there was a time at the
But
beginning
yeah,
of this
so
process.
yeah, I agree. I don't.
Michael Mayer to go much
I don't think Tony Pollard should be your only running back, but if they need tight end, I mean.
He's a throwback, Michael Mayer. He's a tough kid, boy. He doesn't have the longest arms. Like the short arms, I think bother people. But you watch him play since his freshman year. He didn't play too much. He plays a true freshman. Wasn't that super highly rated coming out of high school, but made a big time name for himself at Notre Dame.
What if the Cowboys draft a quarterback, huh?
He will win contested situations. He will battle.
What if they don't believe in Dak Prescott, and this is where Will Levis goes?
He's a throwback to the 80s as a tight end.
Yeah, to me, he's the most complete tight end in the draft. As
that
far
would
as somebody
be
that can line up on the line of scrimmage and
very
block and also
interesting.
With the passing game. He's not going to wow you with the numbers. He's not going to wow you with the 40
I don't think so. I think they.
The length, all that. But he reminds me
I feel like they feel like
Jason Witten, a guy that can just get open. Jason Witten,
Prescott should get another year.
Why option? The ability for that tight end to get the option, and then the hands, the sure hands. It doesn't matter when he's covered. He's really not covered. Go up, catch the football with your hands. Talk about being a body catcher. He's not. He's going to go up and snatch the football with his hand. Reminds me of somebody else who they said, he's not an athlete. He's not quite fast. All Jason Witten did was go to Dallas and have a Hall of Fame career, catch the football with his hands, always in the right spot. But what he really made hay mail is when it came time to be a blocker, came time to run the football, he could stick his nose in there. You can line him up there wide, you can bring him across, he can block. And for a team that wants to run the football, like McCarthy has said he wants to, this sure looks familiar. How ironic would this be for Dallas to have one tight end in the Hall of Fame and Jason Witten and go draft another with the same type characteristics as Michael Mayer?
Yeah, it was kind of uncanny how similar they looked.
Yeah.
When I was watching them, I'm going, because I remember when Jason came out of Tennessee, I was low on him. I didn't think Jason had a hell of a career, and he's a hell of a guy. There's no question about it. Love him to death. I just didn't think he'd be that good of a tight end. I didn't think he'd get open. Because I was just like, man, he just doesn't look like he's going anywhere. And I was surprised at the number of people who didn't challenge Michael at the line of scrimmage in college. He was constantly getting free releases. And then he just put people around on the second level, and he had those great hands. And he is a good route runner now. He's very good at the top of the
They put their pick in.
Very good at that. It's
good old
like
Jerry Jones.
Easy of a pick for them.
The Cowboys have taken a lot of time to make this decision here, and so one wonders if perhaps we will see a trade. Certainly something has happened as you see the reactions in their draft room. The pick is in, and the Cowboys have made it, and so we'll see which direction they choose to go as they had the good season last year. Dak Prescott taking, in most people's estimation, a step backwards a season ago. They make the change with the offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore no longer there. He's now in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Booger, you mentioned it. They're looking to run the football more this year, and obviously the tight end fits nicely into that scheme.
Yeah, they talked about not being able to try to outscore everybody. And Mike McCarthy got a lot of flack for those comments. They're like, huh? The name of the game is scoring points. But at some point, you have to win with how you want to win, your philosophy, how you want to do it. And so, yeah, it makes sense to get a tight end in this situation.
So perhaps that's the direction they go. Their defense was much improved, obviously, each of the last 2 years under Dan Quinn. Is there anything on the defensive side that you could see they might do as we continue to speculate about the possibility of a tight end?
Well, when you look at their run defense, I mean, that's where they were in the bottom quarter of the league as far as rushing yards per game. So, I mean, I just, the tight end makes more sense to me here as far as, you know, what they want to get done offensively and how maybe they want to have a controlled passing game. I mean, defensive tackle just seems to be a reach of the people that are available right now. But, look, I mean, when you know that in the NFC, that you're going to have to be able to control the line of scrimmage, especially in their division against Philadelphia, maybe defensive tackle makes sense. I just don't know who.
Who's the player that came in, and he was kind of like a chess piece. Okay, when you talk about Michael Parsons, edge, linebacker, they blitzed him. Nolan Smith has some of those same characteristics, and he ran 4-3, just like Michael Parsons. So maybe they get another chess piece like that they can move around.
I mean, big guys make more sense only to me, only because, look, I saw Jason Kelsey in the hotel this morning, and I said, look, it was unfair what you were doing to people down the stretch, dude. I don't know what you're doing as far as your training regimen. Give it to me. If it's in a whatever, give it to me. So I don't know, maybe
Cowboys,
makes sense. I don't know.
We're going to find out now. The Cowboys have taken some time, and the commissioner is here to announce their selection.
With the 26th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Mozzie Smith, defensive tackle, Michigan.
Mozzie Smith.
Although, Mel, the word you hear a lot with this young man is freak. The quickness and agility at his size is extremely rare. Played in 35 games, started 28 in Ann Arbor.
The Cowboy fans clearly have no idea who that is.
Sack production. 2.5 tackles for loss, half a sack, forced the fumble, but he had
big guy, 6'3", 320. That's a big tackle.
He's got the talent to be a good player. You think about the very least, he's going to be an anchor against the run. He's going to be able to solidify that interior. The powerful hands, you got to believe he can expand his game and become more of a factor getting into the backfield.
And I've never seen anybody move him out. And you won't move him either, Greeny, because he is a mountain of a man inside. And for a team that wants to be able to get to third down, how to get to third down? You got to stop the run on first and second down to allow Michael Parsons, to allow DeMarcus Lawrence the ability to rush the passer. He has pass rush ability. It just won't look clean. He can push the pocket. Now you have Lawrence and Parsons coming off the edge. The numbers won't show up, but he will help their pass rush by pushing the pocket.
Look,
interesting
Dan Quinn is going to have to get him going, though. He has to get him to play consistently coming off the ball. For me, that's on too late off the ball. Not getting off blocks one-on-one. Too much one-for-one at the point of attack where you're sitting there going, look, man, you're
Take that,
6'3",
Cowboy fans. It's exactly what we thought with our pick.
You're 34 reps. You should be ragdolling people, and you're not.
We think he's going to be a good player, the guy we drafted, but it wasn't really a huge position of need for us.
The Jaguars are on the clock after moving back twice already tonight. Very much in keeping with the theme of the night. What a night it has been. Trades galore, and we are still waiting for the home team, Kansas City, to wrap it up with the final pick of round 1 of the NFL Draft. And we continue in just a moment.
I don't think I'm going to make it through the draft. This is moving too slow. No,
Does this mean you can watch NFL Sunday Ticket without putting a satellite dish on your roof?
I said I was going to.
Does this mean you can watch your favorite teams out of market Sunday games? Does this mean all the...
So far, what are we thinking about this draft? I would say I'm not wholly, like, blown away by anything. I don't think there's been any picks that are like, you know, go against the grain or, like, were wholly unexpected. It just sucks. Like, a lot of the players we wanted went early. Tackles and the cornerbacks. When we had a chance at quarterbacks, they decided to pass up. pick is in for the Jaguars. Matt Will in chat says the Texans are going back to back. Oh yeah, you mean as far as like that was kind of surprising? Yeah, now that I think about it, that was that was probably the best 2 draft picks so far, especially with them being back to back. That's really going to help the Texans. I mean, you got possibly the best defensive player in the draft, and you know, with the second best quarterback. That's pretty solid. What time is the second round going tomorrow? NFL Day 2. Says that's going to go at 7 p.m. tomorrow, so that's slightly earlier than tonight. That's the time it should have went to. This one should have went today.
Pick in the draft, and then came C.J. Stroud, and then so many others that have come behind. Special moments here all night long in Kansas City. Enthusiasm all over the country as the NFL draft has continued, filled with a variety of fabulous moments. And it is time now, Mel, to take a look at your best available still remaining in tonight's class, which is brought to you by Courtyard by Marriott.
Yeah, Greeny, injuries have affected this list a little bit. Will Levis with the toe, more talked about that, banged up basically since October 1st. Throughout the rest of the season was Will. Paddled through it, loved the kid. He'll be a steal for somebody. Nolan Smith with the torn pectoral, 8 games in. Pushes him down just a bit. Joey Porter Jr., I think got a little handsy at times in coverage. I thought he improved on that. Still available. Miles Murphy, defensive end, has that pass rush ability. And then Anton Harrison, offensive tackle, left tackle. Started the first game this year at right tackle. Like his athleticism, like his length. Thought he had a good career at Oklahoma. Like he's the next offensive tackle to come off the board.
Jacksonville has traded back a couple of times, and we'll see what player it is, Lewis, that they've decided to identify here. Obviously, the star young quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who really came into his own a year ago.
Yeah, make sure you protect him, right? Take care of that young man.
Yeah, Matt Will in chat says 2 rounds, so they start an hour earlier. Yeah, I kind of wish this one started at 7.
With the 27th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Anton Harrison, tackle, Oklahoma.
Well, Lewis, just as you said, versatile lineman from Washington, D.C., played mostly left tackle, started 23 games at that spot the last 2 seasons. Another one who played basketball in high school, so he's got the feet and he's got plenty of power, Mel.
Got drafted by the Jaguars, and the guy sitting next to him was wearing a Commander's hat.
That was the first game, started the season opener against UTEP at right tackle. Remaining 11 games were at left tackle. That's where he's played his career. They can play both in the NFL. 6'4 1/4, 315 pounds with long arms. As a run blocker, drove defenders off the ball. I thought he sealed in the combo blocks. He was really effective. As a pass blocker, the footwork, the technique, the ability to mirror, he did that. He got that movement in the run game. He was a pretty complete offensive lineman. He was at his best. He played, I thought, had a will of a season. He was on my big board, ended up at 26 on the top 250, 300 big board. Anton Harrison at 26. He was the next offensive tackle. I think the ability to play right tackle or left tackle makes him valuable. And who are you protecting? You're protecting the franchise down there in Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, and I think he's an above-average athlete at the tackle position. And this makes sense when you figure out the report came out that Jaguars left tackle Cam Robinson could be facing a multi-game suspension. So now if you're Doug Peterson and you're the head coach and you're the Jaguars, you want to make sure if and when Cam Robinson does get suspended, you have a young tackle in the fold. So this makes perfect sense.
Actually, Adam Schefter has the very latest with some perspective on that. Schefter?
Well, and that's the whole thing here, Greeny. Cam Robinson, the Jaguars' former franchise player, is facing suspension for violating the performance-enhancing drug policy. And it's going through the process right now. He's fighting it, but the chances are ultimately he's going to face some type of multi-game suspension. And that had to figure into the Jaguars' thinking, although they also like the player an awful lot. But Cam Robinson, they're prepared to open the season with Adam Greeny.
So in that regard, Lewis, it makes even more sense.
Yeah, it sure does, because he has right tackle, left tackle versatility, although he's probably going to be more comfortable on the left side, and they'll plug him in right there. This is the thing this is the only problem I had with Harrison. All the physical talent that you have, as fast as you can run, as big as you are, when you let your hands go, you have a heavy punch. He wasn't like, when you watch some of these other tackles in this draft, they were trying to gore people, like physically impose their will. Darnell Wright is the reason why he went 9th overall, because he tried to play nasty. This kid has the physical ability, the same kind of physical ability as some of the higher rated tackles, but he didn't have that same kind of nasty temperament. And that's what they're going to, if they can bring that out of him, get him to play with a little bit more pad level, sink his hips a little bit more so he can come out of his hips and play with more power, they have themselves a steal.
He doesn't have that tenacity, but what he does have is the rare ability of a guy that size. When he gets off balance, when he gets beat, he can recover, and I think that's something that you can't teach.
All right,
Goodbye. Let's start making these picks quick.
4 picks remaining in round 1 of this NFL draft, and barring any more trades, and certainly we may still see some if history is going to be any guide, but we have the Bengals and the Saints, then the Eagles and Kansas City will wrap it up, and that's why not one person has left here tonight. Frequently as we've been here, we've seen folks leave earlier, but
Just
for the
smacked my
first
mic.
time, the defending Super Bowl champions are hosting the draft, and so the fans are waiting for that. One way or another, here we go. The Bengals are ready to go. The commissioner is here.
With the 28th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Myles Murphy, defensive end, Clemson.
A 5-star recruit, was the top player in the state of Georgia coming out of high school. Had 29
Matt Will in
freshers
chat
last
says
year
Tampa
at
needs to
Clemson
add some
now.
tight end depth. I totally agree with you. I honestly was like not going to be disappointed if they would have drafted Kincaid with that first round pick, but I don't know. Again, the defensive tackle, like, he may be a great player down the road, but like, I don't know. I just don't think he was going to help us like this year. I mean, I guess like you were saying with Vita Vea, like maybe he might get to play more.
Pro Day was impressive. He has to put it all together to be a double-digit sack guy in the NFL.
A ton of upside. His freshman year left you wanting more. You want to see it more and more, and you never saw
I mean,
it
Cade Otton
consistently.
had a fine year,
He's got a
but
ton of upside. His good is really,
really
good,
think
but
he's
his
going to
bad
be
just
like
leaves you like, how can a guy
a top-tier
with those
tight
freaky
end?
stats, that type of athleticism, not make play after play, not make more plays? And I think he shows you glimpses, but it's going to be up to the defensive line coach. Can you get it out of him every single snap with the consistency?
Yeah, Matt Will in chat says Cameron Brate is gone. Yeah, I know he. I know they didn't re-sign him, but he's probably going to retire, right? I mean, he's. Because to be honest, he wasn't very good for us since the Super Bowl year. The Super Bowl year with Gronk, he was pretty solid. He's just older. He's got a lot of wear.
Drive to reach the next destination. Goodyear, more driven. 3 more picks tonight. Round 1 of the NFL Draft from Kansas City.
So who's up next? One of our rivals, the Saints. I were them, I'd probably go secondary. I mean, they got Carr, they got a running back, maybe receiver. No, they have that really good receiver from Ohio State, and they still have Michael Thomas, I think, right? If I were them, yeah, I'd probably go defense. I mean, you got that one really good linebacker who's still there. I think this is a pretty obvious defensive player.
Draft is presented by Courtyard by Marriott, the official hotel of the NFL, and in part by the new movie Strays, in theaters June 9th, rated R, and Subway. Subway's upping their game with the All-Star Subway Series menu. Order by name or number, and they'll do the rest.
As everyone knew they would, this city of Kansas City, one of the great sports cities in America, they love their Chiefs, and they have shown up in a huge way tonight. 125,000 people, the estimated attendance tonight, and not one of them has left, because for the first time, the home team is the defending Super Bowl champ, which means they will make the final pick of the first round, which we are rapidly approaching.
Wait, so what happened to pick 32?
There, the New Orleans Saints, their pick is in. Then we will have the two Super Bowl teams, the Eagles, who've made one pick already tonight.
Or somebody had to forfeit a pick, I think, during the year. Who was it? Was it the Dolphins?
Should they be looking?
Look, they need more pass rush.
Yeah, it had to have been the Dolphins.
To help a guy, to help out some.
That's right. I think they tampering or something.
At the position. They got to beef it up on the defensive
At least I think.
The time of change for New Orleans, obviously, in the last few years. They do bring in Derek Carr to play quarterback for them this year, so they will go in that direction. And I see the commissioner making his way out here. The NFC South, a division really in a state of flux. Let's see what the Saints are doing. Here's the commissioner.
This is going to be that linebacker.
29th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Brian Brzee, defensive tackle, Clemson.
Ooh.
A back-to-back Clemson Tigers. Mel, you just mentioned him. He's been on the radar a long time. Some services ranked him the #1 high school player in the country coming out of Damascus, Maryland.
Yeah, at Damascus High School, he was rated anywhere between 1 and 3. Grinny, you're right. He was also on the basketball team. When he came in 2020 with Miles Murphy and Trenton Simpson, linebacker, he looked like an outlaw. Like he was going to be a top 10
I've actually heard of him. I know he's pretty good.
He had a great 2020 season. 6.5 tackles lost. He got sacked. He ended up with 4.5 sacks that year. Forced the fumble. He was really active along the interior. Really got after it. 2020 starts out the season, then the ACL. Then this past year, his sister passes away. He has a kidney infection. I mean, and then he looked rejuvenated at the combine. Ran 4.93 at 6. He's about 6'5.5", 300 pounds. He looked like Brian Brzee was back like he was in 2020. So I think they're going to get a kid here who with now, you talk about what he means to that defense. Lou, you mentioned number one need for the Saints defensive tackle.
Yeah, they need pass rush on the inside to help out Cam Jordan. They're getting a little old. They're getting a little long in the tooth on the defensive side. They need juice. They don't need him just to be a two-gapper. They don't need him to look. Obviously, they need him to stop.
Matt Will in chat says off topic, but what did you think of the new Flash trailer? I honestly don't have my hopes too high on it. I think for me, I'm kind of approaching that movie more with like a just kind of wait and see type vibe. I'm not going in expecting a lot. I'm not going in expecting nothing. Yeah, I'm just like I've been kind of radio silent on it.
At the one technique, which is right over the center, you can line him, but the three technique over the guard. So New Orleans can play him anywhere they want to play him as long as they get the 2020 version of him, where he's a freshman All-American. It's rare you see a guy that big that can run sub 5.
I mean, I didn't even get to watch the Shazam movie, which I know a lot of people were kind of like not that high on, so I don't know. The DC stuff I'm not super like. I know Blue Beetle, that trailer looked kind of I mean, Flash, honestly, it's just Seaton, Michael Keaton, yeah. Matt Will in chat says outside of Keaton, not a lot I want to see. Yeah, I'm in the same boat, kind of.
Be off ball, he can get you 8 sacks off the edge, but he is coming off that torn pectoral 8 games in. Joey Porter Jr.
Oh, there is a pick 32. It's
He had
Pittsburgh.
one career interception. Maybe they're holding that against him. He's still on the board. And Keon White, really impressive player at Georgia Tech. I thought this past year. And then Michael Mayer. We talked about him at tight end. Thought he could be a Dallas Cowboy. He was not Dallas Cowboys. Instead, went for defensive tackle Mozzie Smith out of Michigan. So Michael Mayer, also Luke Musgrave, tight end Oregon State, and Darnell Washington, tight end Georgia, still on the board. Only one tight end.
That'd be crazy if Philadelphia took that linebacker, Nolan Smith. Get 2 like elite defensive players.
Looking there at the pictures of Will Levis, and it feels like every now and again we have one of these nights where there is a player whose name we expect to hear called much earlier. And in the case of Levis, at this moment it appears he will have to wait until tomorrow. Although there's still the possibility, we would assume, of a trade. Certainly the Eagles and the Chiefs are not going to take a quarterback.
Yeah, and I think he was always going to be the fourth quarterback. And I think teams looked at him and said, okay, the last couple years, the turnovers, the inconsistent play, and that's probably why you look at a guy like Will Levis, who was a projected early pick, as our graphic says. Now he's falling down the board because his play isn't up to level as the other guy.
And you just look at some of those teams, though, that are going to pick at the top of the second round tomorrow. I mean, you look at a team like the Rams. I mean, Will Levis played in that kind of offense. They came from that 2 tight end, 2 wide, the 12 personnel, play action heavy type of.
That would be an interesting yet to the Rams.
Look, I think you're going to have to look for scheme-specific teams that think that they could really match up with his skill set when you're talking about tomorrow on a day 2.
And I don't think it's an excuse when you talk about this past year to throw it out.
Yeah.
When he was hurt, there were miles in front of him. Will couldn't move. Normally, he's running for 20 yards. He played because he's a gutsy, tough kid, and he played through pain.
Oh, there's no question about it.
I don't know how you hold turnovers in Kentucky with the offensive line as bad as it was against Will Levis. We're not in the 7th round here.
Yeah.
We're only going into round 2.
Oh, come on, Kuiper.
I told you, I talked to him. That night I brought up Dan Fouts, Johnny Unitas, all the quarterbacks. So Boomer was down. He's a second-round pick. Bengals took 3 players in the first round. Ricky Hundley, linebacker, Pete Koch, defensive end, and Brian Blados, offensive tackle. Ahead of Boomer, he becomes the 4th pick of the Bengals in the second round. We almost went through a tractor pull before he was picked. Okay?
This is Mel's 40th year analyzing players at ESPN, and he still remembers the 3 that Cincinnati took in the first round the year that Boomer Esiason went in the second. Let's talk about the Eagles then for a moment here. This is a team that has almost everything, and they obviously made an aggressive move earlier tonight to take Jalen Carter, who many believe is the best player in this draft, although so many questions surrounding him. So they make that pick earlier tonight. In what direction should they be looking here, Lewis?
I just wonder if here now it's about the secondary. Could it be a guy like Brian Branch from Alabama?
Yes.
Could it be a corner? Because, I mean, really, they don't need, well, you can never say you have too many defensive linemen. I don't think they're going to take a wide receiver. You know, the running back is off the board in the first round. The best 2 running backs are off the board. So they don't need that. They're solid along the offensive line. I think it's defense. I think it's secondary.
Well, you take a look at their draft room there as you see everyone sort of standing around. Still 2 minutes and change before the pick has to come in. It's an interesting move they made earlier tonight, moving up a spot to take Jalen Carter. So another really strong, powerful player on that defensive line.
Name. There's a kid, he's only about a kid, and we'll probably see him in the second round that I like. You know what? I'll give Steve Avila from TCU as a guard center. He can get the job done.
Let's, you know, secondary just makes it, you know, this football team, they love defensive linemen and pass rushers.
Yeah.
They love them.
Yes.
They love them. Been banging the drum for Nolan Smith all during the first round. I have people tell me his pec's going to be fine. That's not a reason. That's not a reason. And he's so fast off the edge. And he plays so hard. Right. He plays, and he gets about tabletop height coming around the corner. That when you talk about Von Miller comparison,
yes,
that's the get off that I'm talking about.
He's slippery coming off.
I mean, it's out there.
Very similar to like Hassan Reddick, what he did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You may have just heard loud cheers behind us. That's because when the Eagles pick went in, the graphic popped up in the building that says the Kansas City Chiefs are now on the clock. And so that's where you're hearing so many of the cheers from the 125,000 fans who are here. I have not done this scientifically, but I think 124,000 of them are from Kansas City and are rooting for the Chiefs. It has been remarkable to see how excited this city has been, and understandably so. We are 2 months away from them celebrating a Super Bowl championship.
Not that I don't enjoy streaming for you guys, but I'm ready to hit the hay.
You know what's interesting about Philly? I'm telling you, like in that Super Bowl, we're sitting there, we called it.
Come on, Roger, get out there.
Going for a team that was ferocious rushing the passer. They can't get the Patrick. You know that had to stick. Like be a thorn in their side all off season. We have to get even more guys.
And the field,
more guys.
The field has something to do with that night.
True.
All right.
But you know what? You can never have enough, right?
Yep.
The Eagles entering the stage with the commissioner is Donna Kelsey, the mom of Jason and Travis, to announce the Eagles pick.
And
here we go.
Casey.
Joining me on stage now are some very special guests, content creators who you know from YouTube, Dude Perfect, and Jason and Travis's mom, Donna Kelsey.
Thank you, Roger.
I like how nobody made noise for Dude Perfect.
Playing in a game on TV at the same time. Right. Okay, Travis is there, Jason's there. How in the world do you decide which game that you're going to watch?
Man, I don't know. That's really tough. I don't know. It's just tough to choose.
We had a feeling that would be the case, so we cooked up something a little bit special for you to
come
help you break
on.
the tie. Here's the deal. We've got a custom coin with Travis and the Chiefs on one side and Jason and the Eagles on the other. If your boys are playing at the same time, all you have to do
really
is
need a
flip
skit
it and it takes the
here.
decision out of your hands. Should
All
we
right.
try it? Let's
Okay.
try it. It's Travis and the Chiefs! Good news.
This is so
good news.
corny.
NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV. You don't have to make that decision. You can watch both boys at the same time.
Great.
You ready to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see who's going to be joining Jason.
Oh, sorry, you guys couldn't even see that.
With the 30th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft,
You didn't need to see it. It was super corny.
the Eagles select Nolan Smith, linebacker, Georgia.
Wow.
Well, I mean, Lewis, there's your guy. And at some point, do the Philadelphia Eagles need to consider changing their name to the Bulldogs?
No question.
As they're just bringing the entire Georgia defense down there, and including 2 defenders from that Georgia D tonight.
It's unbelievable. They got 4 guys off of a defense that so many people said it's the best defense of a generation. And now they got 4 of them to go along with a great combination of veterans already along the defensive line. This team, I'll tell you what.
That's a crazy pick,
man.
man.
And they're
Yeah,
building
Eagles are going to have a
back.
lot
That
of
is
pass
for
rushers.
sure. They are saying we're going to bring people in waves. This guy plays so hard, and he's so fast off the snap. And I'm telling you, he plays about 3 feet off the ground as far as his pad level. And you know just how torturous that is for offensive tackles and running backs who are trying to pick up these guys when they're rushing the passer. And when you talk about, this is a guy who had, 4.3 40? I mean, come on now. With the people they already have, the inside big bodies who are athletic, and now the juice on the outside with Hassan and him and Brandon Graham to be able to teach them. It's unfair, almost what they're putting together up front.
He's got the best bend in the draft. You talk about Devon Miller like being around the corner. He runs the art, meaning Greening. When he gets to the top of this pass rush, he can bend the corner and get to the quarterback. That's where you create sack fumbles. For a guy that runs 4.38, here's the thing that he needs to improve on. He's got to get a counter move, the speed rush, the one arm, the long arm bull. What's going to be your secondary move? His pass rush arsenal has to be developed more. If he can do that, now he becomes scary as a rusher in the National Football League.
You see the celebration there, and we see, as we mentioned, all of these the Eagles picks. As you see, this room has turned red now for Kansas City, and that's why it's gotten
Philly Bulldog
so much louder. But here they are. I mean, it's Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith tonight, and Davis and Nakobe Dean a year ago. Getting to be pretty scary.
All off one defense, Greeny.
Yep.
All those guys played on the 2021 defense that they said was the best defense ever. Now they're recreating it in Philly, and it's so good for Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. Young guys that can come in with the veterans you mentioned, Lewis, that are already there. This is a perfect mixture in Philadelphia. Talk about culture and creating an environment.
Those guys just came back for 1 year. Fletcher came back for 1 year. Fletcher Cox. Brandon came back for 1 year. Jason Kelsey came back for 1 year. You were trying to create a college-like bond through the draft. That's why you like building through the draft. How about you just get all the guys from the same team that were the best team and just put them in the NFL? I mean, what better way to create culture than that?
How about Nolan Smith, Mel?
Tell you what, you talk about slippery off the edge. They can impact the game in a variety of ways. I think that's the thing what Nolan's able to do. And so smart, really high football IQ. Certainly for the Philadelphia Eagles, to be able to guys that have been on back-to-back national championship teams and put them on one side. And also give Jalen Carter that strong locker room and the friendship that he has with those former teammates. Also an important piece of the equation.
While it may be fairly obvious, let's explain what you are seeing. Those are two Lombardi trophies that they've just brought out onto the stage as the Chiefs have won, of course, 2 Super Bowls in the last few years with their spectacular young quarterback in Patrick Mahomes and Coach Andy Reid and everything else, and the fans are going to get to celebrate that. The part owner, chairman, and CEO Clark Hunt will be out along with the commissioner to announce the final pick of the first round, which will be here any moment. As we see, the Chiefs have a little less than 3 minutes left to make that pick, but it's really the culmination of this Super Bowl celebration that we are seeing here tonight, Brooke.
Yeah, it's outstanding, and if you're the Chiefs, having won the Super Bowl, let's face it, they got the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes, and they played a lot of rookies in the secondary. So this allows them at this pick, they can go a number of ways. Do they continue to go up front and try to get somebody to replace Frank Clark coming off the edge because he's no longer there? You can always fortify your pass rush. But this is a luxury pick for a team that has Patrick Mahomes and a ton of young secondary guys that contributed at a high level on the back end.
You want to talk about a team like we talked about Seattle, like we're talking about Philadelphia tonight, that has done work in the draft over the past 2-3 years? Brett Veach, the general manager of the Chiefs, has done work. Okay, this team is set. You talk a bunch of young guys on the defensive side of the ball at all 3 levels. They have revamped their offensive line again, maybe made it even stronger. They found a running back in the 7th round last year in Isaiah Pacheco, who's become a stud. Now, they need some more juice at the wide receiver position. They need to continue to make sure that Patrick has enough guys. And Travis Kelce can't play forever. Right? What's Travis now, 34 years old?
Yeah, right in there.
So, I mean, and you have some tight ends now who could possibly be that luxury type of pick. I know Brett likes, that being Brett Veach, likes the cornerback depth here. They have a bunch of young corners already. But you're right. He's right now just reading the board, man, saying, what do I want?
Well,
what do I want?
Mel, I will mention that they are the first defending champion ever to lose both their starting offensive tackles from the Super Bowl, Orlando Brown Jr. and Andrew Wiley. I don't know if that's a direction that they would consider going here. They have a lot of options, but they did lose that. They did allow a league-worst 33 touchdown passes last year, for whatever that is worth. Mel, so they're great, but there are some needs.
Yeah, Tyler Steen, a kid who was at Vanderbilt, goes to Alabama, is a nice player. Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse is another player on the offensive line, had a nice finish to his career. I'll tell you what, Felix Anudika-Uzomah from Kansas State, a pass rusher coming off the edge. He'll be probably a 2nd-round pick. We're going to get to that list tomorrow for rounds 2 and 3. Right now, we might go back to Nolan Smith. He was 12 on the big board. Philadelphia gets him at 30.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, the Eagles setting up, get the number 1 player on my board, and Jalen Carter at, 9, get the number 12 at 30. That's the way you draft. That's getting value.
You mentioned Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Should he go here tonight, it would be a dream. He is originally from Kansas City, so he would be the ultimate in local picks here. And again, this will be the final pick of round one tonight. This is a year in which there will only be 31 selections. The Dolphins forfeited their pick, so you might see on some of the screens it says pick 32. It's only the 31st pick of the first round, but there will only be 31 picks. So this is the last pick of the night. Again, as always, the defending Super Bowl champ will make it, and we are here in Kansas City where this celebration has continued straight up until tonight. They've also made a change at offensive coordinator, Lewis, with Eric Bieniemy no longer here.
Yeah, Matt Nagy now taking over the offensive coordinator role. He's someone who really, head coach Andy Reid got him into coaching when we were all in Philadelphia. And Matt is now, he's kind of like back in his comfort zone with people that he knows. He's college teammates with general manager Brett Veach. Look, this football team's just going to keep on humming because at the most important positions, they have nothing but alignment and unity. Head coach, general manager, offensive play caller, quarterback. It's all a perfect marriage going on right down here. What a great atmosphere to try and build a football team, man.
And the longer you think about it, again, Frank Clark, the absence, Chris Jones, we know he's dominant. You still need somebody to help Chris Jones up front. They need some juice coming off the edge. They got George Karlaftis from Purdue last year, more of a power guy. Where's the speed? Where's the fastball that Frank Clark brought off the edge?
The AFC is about as loaded, particularly with quarterback talent, as any conference has ever been at any time in the history of the National Football League. So you figure you always need some sort of defense, whatever the case may be. Chiefs obviously as set as can be with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. The word dynasty thrown around a good deal in these parts and all across the NFL as we wait, Mel, for the pick to come in here and wrap up this very interesting and in the early stages particularly fast-moving round one of the NFL.
Yeah, we've had runs on positions. We had the 4 wide receivers go in a row. And you talk about the defensive line. You had Mozzie Smith, and you had Miles Murphy, Brian Brzee. Like I say, you had guys sliding through, like Nolan Smith drops to the late first round. We're talking about Joey Porter Jr., a cornerback who has size.
Come on. Get out there.
Lacking, a little handsy, a little crabby.
How long does it take to get to the stand, Roger? Starting to get grumpy. Just want to go to bed. Come on.
For the second round area. And then Brian Branch. No safeties have even been talked about in the first round. Brian Branch has done center field.
They keep focusing in on the same group of people.
All right, and so we are ready now as they're going to announce the final pick in the first round of this year's NFL Draft, and they will do so with an announcement to the House here in Kansas City right now.
Kansas City Chiefs selection. Please welcome Chairman and CEO of your Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs, Clark Hunt.
How about it, Kansas City? With the 31st pick of the 2023 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Felix Anudike-Uzomah, defensive end, Kansas State.
Yeah, there you go. Alright, well I think that's going to round out everything going on here. That's the final pick. But yeah, kind of glad you guys were willing to join me for this stream. It's definitely trying something new. I haven't been doing... Oh shoot, I totally need to turn that song off. But yeah, thanks for joining me for something different. I know I don't really cover sports stuff too much, even though I I watch it a lot on my free time, but I don't really talk about it. But maybe this upcoming season I'll definitely do some more. I don't know, talking about my Bucks or something. Matt Will in chat says, "Great stream." Well, thank you so much for joining. It was definitely more entertaining having you in here. But yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna call this. I don't know if it was worth it streaming for 4 hours for Tampa. That pick was, again, I think that player may end up being really good. I felt like there was more important positions, but anyways, thank you so much for joining, guys. I love you. I'm going to leave it there, so night-night, everybody.